welcome in. Captain and Madden Show for the middle part of June. Getting a little rock and roll intro there. Band called Army Navy with a beautiful cover of Get Right Back, the original hit from Maxine Nightingale. Apropos for this episode, before I continue to ramble, Captain, are you with us, Captain?
Oh, ahoy, matey. How you doing today, Mr. Madden?
Ahoy, matey. Yeah, the captain has a bit of sea legs today. We won't get too deep into it because I don't want to trigger you. But welcome back to the to stateside, and I hope you enjoyed your vacation.
I did enjoy the vacation. It just still I haven't gained my sea legs, or you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan. But I mean, how can I, with our guest today, how can I sit there and half-ass it or call out? I mean,
seriously,
like this guy is no half-stepping. I think would do it. Like the dude's played hockey with a broken back. He lifted a small child with his arm, with a car off a small child with an arm in a sling. I mean, he's like Superman to me. So
yeah, he's.
I mean, if I have to be a little queasy while doing this, then so be it. I was not going to duck out on this episode.
Well, without further ado, as we
or mighty duck out of this.
Good call. But without further ado, as we bring on a hockey expert, our good friend, longtime close personal friend, Crazy Charlie Saunier, Renegades of Puck mastermind, Chuck. Welcome to the Captain and Madden Show.
I have been a long-time follower of the show, and I have been waiting for a very long time for this invite. Fellas, Renegades, if I may, it is a damn pleasure to be in the trenches with each and every one of you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thanks for participating. Thanks for getting getting your ducks in a row, your mighty ducks in a row, so to speak, and joining us. For the benefit of those listeners who may know us personally, and all of us personally, there are the few, the proud that do, and then also those of your followers that are probably listening to Captain and Madden Show's buffoonery for the first time. Why don't you bring us up to speed on your venture over at the Renegades of Puck, and what kind of allowed you to produce the podcast and the video show that you do?
I'll be happy to do so, Double M. And to be honest with you, I'm going to start by saying this. Just over 30 years ago, you were a huge inspiration to what is now in existence. It was string driving. It was nights at the pool hall. It was just simply hanging out and talking with that first plug-in microphone where we attempted to do our own version of Wayne's World that thankfully every single cassette has melted down or been fired off into a dumpster somewhere, but will never see the light of day again. But it was those days that made me realize instantly that I had a future in entertainment and broadcasting, especially. Took a quick trip through the pro wrestling ranks and had a damn good time doing it. And then for the last 25 years, I have been a professional broadcaster, and most of that here in the Nashville area. I've been lucky enough to cover an NHL franchise in the Nashville Predators for the last 13 years. We're about to hit 1,000 episodes on the podcast, and it has been one hell of a run. As guys who create a show each and every other week, you guys know how much it takes to create. So 1,000 of them is a big deal, and it's a special deal to me. We've also eclipsed, on the business side of things, over 10 million downloads over the course of our career. Our video downloads are getting better and better each and every season, and we are now expanding beyond the Nashville bubble to bring you more interesting and unique hockey content. Double M, Cap, I've got some ideas for you guys here in the near future.
Oh boy,
good. Our agent will be listening to this closely, but yeah, I mean that's impressive. Like to know you as a young lad, a teenage lad. Dare I say, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but a little bit of a recluse back
Troubled.
in the day. A little bit of a
troubled. No, it's true, and I mean, I'll just say it. Like, it's every bit of it is honest. The myths, the legends, and the apologies are honestly long overdue to everybody in the Bay Shore area because I didn't grow up like a lot of other people. I was kind of feral. I was kind of left on my own, and it was, great people like you, Mike Madden, and Mike Munez, and others in Union Beach who kind of looked after me until I broke out of my own. I broke out of my own by age 15, so it didn't take that long. But no, you're right about that.
Yeah.
I was feral, and I was troubled, and because I had good friends who helped me see the value through the top 500 rock songs of all time and other entertainment ventures, that it was possible for me to go from Heckleman Street to a world-class job as a talk show host. And I have shelves full of meaningless awards to show for it. And again, from everybody in the Bay Shore area, I really sincerely do apologize. I should do that to you each and every one individually. But I know I was a bit of a jerk growing up. And, I was growing up. Had to learn those lessons the hard way, and I did. So my apologies and my sincerest thanks for your support throughout the troubled times.
Listen, there's pride on this side of it too, and I don't want to jump on Corby. Corby, you had something to throw in there?
First, we have an agent, and second, my favorite, real brief Chuck story. So I met Chuck hanging out at the Cary Wiggett Fest at the trailer, and I knew him for maybe a day or two. He calls me up at about 7:00 on New Year's Eve. Now, I had very nowadays we would consider strict parents. It's New Year's Eve. I'm 16 or 17 years old, and Chuck's asking me, "Do you want to go into the city? Do you want to go to Times Square?" And I'm like, "No, Chuck, I can't go to Times Square." And he was just like, "Well, why not?" And I'm like, "Because I'm 16 years old, Chuck. I can't go into the city." It didn't like his world at that time. I was just like, no, we're young. We can't go into the city on New Year's Eve, dude. Like they'll swallow us up. Like we're never gonna make it home.
That's true. Yeah, that's the unfortunateness of the growing up lifestyle. I would say for some kids was not like the spur of the moment. Hey, just hitch your wagon to my truck. We're going to drive to New York City, or we're going to take a train into New York City on New Year's Eve, which is the stupidest time of year in New York City. But that's, again, like I said, there's a lot of pride on our side. Local boy does good. We always like to see your content, to see how you've grown, a small business and a connected business to that extent to the Nashville Predators, and to kind of push yourself year after year onto new projects. So, all the kudos.
I just believe it's possible. Believe it's possible, and I refuse to have anybody gatekeep or tell me that I can't do something. As a matter of fact, every single step of the way has been that Beecher kid just refusing to give up, refusing to be told that you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not smart enough, you're certainly not clever enough to do this. But by sheer will and the essence of no half step in itself, I summon the power from the universe, and I have been able to do this for 30 years without anybody stopping me. And when they say, no, we're not going to give you that time slot, I just say, well, I'll just go start my own company then. And for me, it's just as simple as that. You have to go out there and make it happen for yourself. There's nobody that's going to hand you some of the greatest gigs and jobs in the entirety of the universe. Talking sports, talking hockey, being on here with you fellows, that's something that people are willing to fight and die over, and I am certainly not going to give up that spot or that opportunity. So, as they always say, come and take it. Have Mike will travel. You don't have a chance against me.
It's almost like we have a motivational speaker cap. Like
I may have a future in that.
We're getting a lesson here. But the reason why we brought you on, above and beyond everything, is you are a real life hockey historian. I know you've covered the Predators for quite a while. You're a longtime hockey fan, going back to being a kid that went to the Garden to see the Rangers. You did a couple of podcasts about the history of hockey, right? If I'm not mistaken.
If I may, and because we're all workers here, I would love to reveal a truth behind something. I said out loud one day, I'm going to take a 700-page hockey encyclopedia and I'm going to read it word for word into a microphone, and I'm going to break that up into episodes. Now, I was under contract at the time, and I had to provide X number of episodes per week. And as you know, this time of year, it can be kind of difficult to get a lot of good hour-long hockey content. So as filler, to test their algorithm to see if they even checked on my work at any time or just direct deposited very, very nice checks for a while, I went ahead and read the entirety of the 20th Century Hockey Chronicle into this very microphone right here. It's in 21 parts in an audiobook form. You can find it on the Renegades of Puck YouTube page and all of our other podcast pages. But yes, indeed, I consider myself a hockey historian simply because I sat right here and read 700 pages of hockey history. And I'm going to tell you, fellas, the biggest reveal of hockey history, the original six is a farce.
Yeah.
It's a farce,
Yes,
gentlemen. All right, now, back to you guys.
Yeah. Well, before we start to travel through the league and the history of the league, where do you see it currently? Like, obviously we're in the finals. We've got a Florida franchise that is, what are they, the third year in a row that they're in a Stanley Cup. I like Edmonton. I like their moxie. I like just do it for McDavid. But like through the playoffs, and obviously it was a bit of a down year for Nashville. It was a bit of a down year for the Rangers, and even the Devils, like the captain's team. So, you're kind of looking, it's really outside looking in. But do you get psyched for the playoffs, and do you pick a side, or is it just like, just get it over with as quickly as possible because I want the next season to start?
I obsess over the 2 months, 4 rounds by 7 games format of the NHL Stanley Cup Final. I truly think it's one of the things that keeps me electrified and keeps me moving. And what I do is I'll start the first round watching every minute of every single game, and I'll start to very quickly, if I don't have a team that I'm particularly fond of, I'll start to find players that I'm pulling for. I'll start to find threads to pull on and unique storylines. I absolutely loved how the Mikko Rantanen situation played out, where the Colorado Avalanche essentially eject him from the Western Conference, and he immediately gets traded back to the Western Conference to a division rival and then eliminates you in a round of the playoffs. Like, that storyline to me was just simply one of the best. Where's the league right now? The league's in a good place. I think it's popular. I think it's gaining more fans. I do think that they can do a hell of a lot more to grow on the marketing side. I mean, really, you're still pushing NFTs in 2025. Like, the NHL is consistently 2 to 3 years behind the curve as far as trying to catch the youth demographic, as far as trying to keep people engaged. But the league itself, the players, the play itself, the league itself, the health of the franchises, I think right now we're in one of the strongest time periods. And unfortunately, Gary Bettman does deserve a lot of credit. His southern expansion, his management of the league to the point where it is right now, it's undeniable that it's successful because the ratings are better than they've been, and there is no doubt that if you took the first 5 minutes of the Four Nations tournament, Canada versus USA, you took the first period of the other night Stanley Cup Final Game 2, when it was 3-2 back and forth with all those scraps in the first period, you can sell the game to any casual fan, put it right in their IV drip, and they'll be back hooked for life. Right now, the game, I think it's healthy, fellas.
Good. And that's
I've always thought pound for pound playoff hockey, especially if you're lucky enough to get a game 7 somewhere in that, the 2 months. There's nothing better in sports, in my opinion, than a game 7 in the NHL.
That's
I
true.
absolutely love it. I've had the privilege of being at a game 7. I got to tell you, for somebody who's been, I don't know how many numbers of games at this point in my life, but to be at a game 7, the only thing I've experienced with even close to the energy of that was the actual Stanley Cup Final here in Nashville. And it didn't matter if that was game 3, 4, or 6 in Nashville when the Stanley Cup Final was here in 2017.
You're up for it.
I mean, this city, it's my favorite sports experience in my entire career was covering that run. I would have walked away and retired from the business if the Predators had won that thing. It was that good.
Well, again,
Was it better than when the Devils celebrated in '95 in the parking lot in the Meadowlands?
Oh boy.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could top that type of energy level.
Corby, the Predators beating the Anaheim Ducks in the second round in 2008 is better than the Devils winning the Stanley Cup and celebrating in the parking lot. Sorry, that's my personal bias creeping in right there.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. It had to happen at some point.
Yeah, I figured we'd wait until we were talking about the Eastern Conference, but like no.
No. I don't want to drop the gloves now. That was just a mild glove shake and a stare down for a second. We'll get back to that later in the game.
Wasn't exactly Claude Lemieux going and scoring during pregame warmups on the opposing goalie.
Right. Yeah, good point. So the task at hand, we are going to go through every team in the league, a couple of defunct franchises.
Okay.
And this is word association.
Okay. Now, to before we start, I want to tell you, I have done no research. I've looked up nothing. I've done no homework. I wanted to go into this experiment as you had planned, completely word association first.
Yes.
Ready to go.
And the good part is, Captain and I have both done research, so we've got stuff, and you are definitely the fill in the blank and stream of consciousness guy in this situation.
I'm really excited about this. I love doing a good bit. Let's go.
So here we go. Western Conference. We're going to start off with the Western Conference. And what better place to start than up in the north with the Winnipeg Jets? Captain, do you have a Winnipeg Jet that comes to mind when we say the team's name?
I went chalk. I went Teemu Selanne.
Teemu Selanne? That's a very good one.
Yeah, I remember the year, I think it was in the 90s. He scored 60 goals, and he had played a couple of previous years, and that was like one of the must-have like hockey cards. Was anybody who had a Teemu Selanne
an OPG?
from when he was.
I was just going to say
you had to an OPG Teemu Selanne.
I believe I was more of a score guy.
Oh, all right, okay, that works too. That works too. All right, so Teemu Selanne. I actually went with Evander Kane. He was the first guy that I thought of. Just because, like, I think when Winnipeg came back into existence, that was the time when, like, Evander Kane, like, broke free, and he was their, not their savior, but he was their first, like, star in that, like, rebirth of the franchise. I probably could have gone back in history and thought of a couple older ones, but the brain wants what the brain wants. I did like the fun fact also that his parents named him after Evander Holyfield, which is pretty dope. So we throw it to Crazy Charlie.
I'm going to go to the same time period you picked from Double M, and I'm going to go with Dustin Byfuglien. When Dustin Byfuglien arrived with the Winnipeg Jets on the blue line, he terrorized the Western Conference, and he brought the Winnipeg Jets back to a level of relevancy that they had not seen since before they had moved, getting them ultimately to defeat the Predators, who were the President's Trophy winners in 2018 in a 7-game series. He was a wrecking ball. He was a hellraiser. He was the most noticeable player in the playoffs that entire season. Dustin Byfuglien always comes to mind when I talk about the Winnipeg Jets.
See, and I think that's where we underestimated it, Cap. Chuck definitely has a little bit more bitterness with these Western Conference teams because they've been either thorns or doormats for his team for a number of years. So he probably has some really, he's definitely going to give us some great stories. What I do like before we move away from Winnipeg is they have a playoff energy, I think, that is unreal. Like the whiteouts that they have at home, that crowd is at a fever pitch every time you see them. So as a hockey fan of other franchises, and obviously, like, everybody can get up for a playoff game, or like the further you advance, like you're going to have more of the local fan base get really into it. But from game one of the playoffs to the last game that they're in it, or they get eliminated, it's white noise is basically like that. That's what you're going into, and I give that fan base a lot of credit, because the reason why they were abandoned to begin with, a lot of it had to do with money at the time, but a lot of it had to do with there was dwindling interest in the original Winnipeg Jets. So it made sense for hockey to say, well, we're going to take your franchise. You're not very successful with it, and we're going to move it elsewhere. But at a time where expansion was prevalent again, they've certainly earned their stance to
Absolutely.
continue to support that team.
Absolutely. And you go from Ilya Kovalchuk being swept by the New York Rangers in their last playoff appearance in Atlanta in front of a half-full barn, and I'm there chiding people to cheer for the Rangers. And they moved to Winnipeg, and the whiteout returns. And obviously, it's been a great success story ever since. I felt that they should have done better this year. They do still have a window of opportunity, but that's enough about those Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. So let's move to the next team in the Central Conference. Or the Central Division, the Dallas Stars. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Dallas Stars, I'm going to start off with the Dallas Stars because the man shares his initials with me. I always think of Mike Modano. I am I go back to 80s hockey, but 90s hockey was just an exciting thing, and I think Mike Modano gets lost in the shuffle a lot. Hockey fans and hockey nerds know him a lot, and they loved his enthusiasm, his flashy style of play. I think he's sort of lost to time a little bit more, unless you're a Stars supporter and you know, or maybe a hockey historian or a nerd like that. But I think Mike Modano really gets slept on when it comes to the impact that he had in Dallas when they moved from Minnesota to Dallas, and everybody and their mother was like, "Why are you having hockey in Texas? It makes no sense. The ice is going to melt." Well, assholes, it's fucking inside. Can we curse on this, Cap?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, but the point that I'm getting at is that he doesn't really get talked about in circles all that much anymore. And that's why, and he shares the initials with me, so that's why Mike Modano makes my list. Captain, to you for this one.
Well, great Mikes think alike, because I also put Mike Modano down. Okay. The other thing I would add on to it is what he did for U.S. hockey.
Yeah.
When eventually they allowed professional players to play for the U.S. team. He was like, was he a captain? If he wasn't a captain, he was definitely a veteran presence in those locker rooms in the mid to late 90s U.S. hockey team. So that's another reason why I also went with Mike Modano.
Good call. All right,
Mike Modano. That is an incredible choice. And since we're talking about the Dallas Stars, not the Minnesota North Stars period of history, Mike Modano is easily the best Dallas Stars player in history. You can also throw in some votes for Eddie Belfour, who helped them back in their early Stanley Cup days in their battles with the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
But it's Mike Modano. And if I can share just a quick one, since we're all in consensus on this one, Bridgestone Arena, whatever the hell corporate name it had back in this point in time.
Yeah.
Mike Modano sees Jordan Tutu coming from about 150 feet, absolutely charging, absolutely about to just bury him. And Modano turns around and just, to the surprise of everybody, threw a haymaker, catches Tutu, and it kicked off. I was quite shocked to see, because at that time, you want to talk about feral in the NHL, Jordan Tutu was getting away with everything at that point in time. And he and Modano had one of the better scraps I'd seen at the arena that season. It was quite shocking, but Modano had every single tool in the book. And Corby, I'm so proud of you for mentioning the Team USA aspect of it, because stick taps, man, he deserves that. Modano all the way for the Stars.
All right, that's excellent. Good, we're all agreeing. One of the quote-unquote original teams in the NHL, the original six, the Chicago Blackhawks. Corby, what do you got Blackhawk way?
I know the consensus and the easy one to go with would be Jeremy Roenick. I went a little bit of a curveball. I went Eddie Belfour.
Oh, the aforementioned.
Nice.
I remember that run that him and the Blackhawks went on. I believe it was his rookie year or second year, when he won he won the Rookie of the Year trophy. He led the league in wins, goals against, save percentage. He won the Vienza trophy, and they lost in the finals to the Pittsburgh Penguins that year. And the funny side note to this is that the backup goalie for the Blackhawks at the time was Dominic Hasek.
Oh,
and because Belfour had such a great year, Chicago turned around and traded Dominic Hasek to the Buffalo Sabres. And Belfour had a really good career in the NHL, and he was there were moments where Eddie Belfour could stand on his head and he could win you a game or win you a playoff series. But, compared to Hasek, man, that's like That's almost like Buck Showalter leaving Mariano out in the pen in '95. Like, you traded Dominic Hasek. Like that's, and I don't think they got anything really good back. So,
well,
that's my pick is Eddie Belfour.
Eddie Belfour. I knew he was going to come up eventually. I always go Chris Chelios. Because I think Chelios is a heart and soul guy, even though I know he did go to Detroit and have just as long of a career for the Red Wings and was really adapted by the Red Wings as well. But he's a Blackhawk to me. Like, Chelios, Roenick, like, that era is some pretty memorable runs that they went on. And I honestly thought, like, Chelios was a really cool spokesman for hockey as well, so I'm going to give it up for double C.
Chelios, he might have won more cups with Detroit, but his restaurant was in Chicago. His most famous incidents were in Chicago, and Chicago was the middle team of his career because, of course, he was with Montreal.
That's right. I started with them
before even being known. Most people forget that he was with Montreal because he was so young. He really established himself in Chicago, but he's a legend in Chicago. He still goes to Wrigley Field today and does the seventh inning stretch, and he's still received as a Chicago legend. So I'm going to definitely agree with you guys on that one. I just want to throw in a name just for the fun of it all because I know the two of you will recognize it. In that same exact time period, Steve Larmer, man. Steve Larmer was a gamer out there, and there was a reason that nutcase Mike Keenan targeted him and brought him in '94. But a guy like Steve Larmer and Roenick and Chelios, that was a blue collar, tough hockey team. And when you went to Chicago, back to the old stadium, you were in for a very, very difficult night of hockey.
Yeah, and they were aggressive. They got hands on guys, and they certainly played a style of hockey. It's good that you point that out. It's blue collar hockey. It's basically you grind out for 3 periods. You get very little rest time, between shifts, and then you're right back on the ice. And all those guys were gamers for sure for that. Let's go to this little known team, the Nashville Predators, is next on my list. Chuck, you could probably name 7,000 guys that you are friendly with and have covered.
I could unfortunately probably name every player in franchise history at this point because I routinely test myself about who is the least important player in franchise history, and I usually can go quite deep on that list. Well,
I want to start off with this one because I know you have a little bit of history with him because I know he's kind of helped you out and probably appeared in an interview with you in some way, shape, or form. Always like Mike Fisher.
Oh yeah,
I think Mike Fisher's a humble guy. Despite he's got celebrity away from the game. He could just coast on the fact that he's a
poster.
There he
Mike
is,
Fisher, right there on the bottom.
That's right. He did your live event back in 2022.
One of my live shows.
Yeah,
indeed.
But he's kind of synonymous. Like when they really started to focus on being year after year, going on playoff runs and making themselves a presence, in the division and in the conference. I think Mike Fisher really elevated his game and played. He played to the strengths of his teammates. Really, to me, on paper, and even viewing him occasionally when they were coming to town, he feels like a real glue guy. Talks to the other players on the bench, gets people fired up. So I will go with Mike Fisher as my pick. So we will bounce
Double M. If I could comment on that one before the captain gives his. Mike Fisher's arrival here in Nashville at first was seen to be nothing more than a publicity move and publicity stunt to help Carrie Underwood get her husband moved from the Ottawa Senators to the Nashville Predators so that we could have a new celebrity power couple here in the city. I'm going to tell you, if you look at it from that perspective, it ended up being a success beyond successes because at the time, and I'm not a fan of the music or the country music industry necessarily, but at the moment in time, Carrie Underwood was one of the biggest stars in this town, and Mike Fisher was the captain of the NHL franchise. They were walking red carpets together. They were going to award shows together. They were publicly known well outside of the hockey sphere in Nashville. That alone did more promotional success for Nashville hockey than anything outside of PK Subban himself and the Stanley Cup final coming here. So Mike Fisher was a good captain, a decent player, a great representative. He continues to work with the franchise today. And fellas, if I may take you back, if it wasn't for the Predators being in the Stanley Cup final, the largest goal in Predators franchise history would still be Mike Fisher scoring at 1:21 a.m. in the third overtime versus San Jose. 5.5 hours of hockey, and I have never been so awake, so alive, and so excited after just a minute earlier practically passing out in my seat in section 303. But yes, Mike Fisher's a great choice. Sorry I bloviated on that, but he deserves a little talk. I'd love to hear what the captain has.
Good, yeah.
Of all the names that were going to be mentioned on this podcast, I didn't think we'd be discussing Carrie Underwood. My daughter would be very happy since they both went to the. We're part of the same.
Corby.
They were both part of the same sorority. So my daughter refers to her as Sister Carrie.
Oh, I saw her walk down the hallway to sing the national anthem at one of the playoff games, and I am telling you, the legitimate cartoon moment of eyes rolling out of heads, tongues falling on floor, jaws dislocating. I mean, just absolutely a stunning moment to get to see in person. So apologies for interrupting you.
No, that's okay. I kind of went chalk here. I went with PK Subban. Was a big part of the team that went to the Cup, and that team, I think, kind of really established hockey in Nashville. Plus, anybody who has a name that's perfect for hockey and soccer, I'm gonna go with it. So, plus, I mean, now he does commentating on, I believe, TNT and TBS.
ESPN
has it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole family. Yeah.
So he's become a pretty important figure in hockey. He had a brief stint with the Devils. So
thank you for taking that contract.
No problem. If you might go back and look at that roster, his contract seemed a little bit underpaid with some of the guys that were on that team. So,
Corby and Madden, you guys set up two great people there to show the evolution of the franchise here in Nashville. Mike, Madden, you basically chronicled what I call Generation 2, which was from first round exit every year to the Mike Fisher years of finally being a possible contender and at least having a reason to believe they could make it a little further. Now, PK Subban comes in, traded here under controversial circumstances for a beloved Nashville Predators captain in Shea Weber. Now,
yes.
I thought that Shea Weber should have been matched on the offer sheet. I thought that all of that should have worked out for the Predators, but it didn't. PK Subban comes in, and while the era is difficult to discuss with local fans because PK Subban was polarizing, read into that what you will. Was it the big ego? Was it the color of his skin? Was it something else? I don't know what's in everybody's hearts or heads, but I can tell you that a defenseman who showed up here and brought more promotional eyes to the franchise than anyone in history, won the only 2 division titles in franchise history, helped lead the team to the only Stanley Cup Finals performance in franchise history, did all of that in 3 years of being here, brought money, brought attention, brought eyeballs to the hockey community, and was simply everywhere. I could not go any place in the hockey community and hockey scene without crossing paths with PK Subban. Did I hang out with him? No. Were we friends? No. He simply has too much money and not enough time to handle every single request and every person.
Yeah, sure.
But that also in Nashville rubbed some the wrong way. He's too big for us. PK Subban was one of the most successful signings and players to ever be in the Nashville Predators locker room, and he brought everything good to this team, and they've not been the same since he left town. Fantastic choices, fellas. I love it. You want mine?
I was going to say, like, you can surprise us with your pick right now.
I'm going to surprise you. I don't think the name will come as a surprise, but I think the justification for it will. Pekka Rinne, starting goaltender for the Nashville Predators. Fellas, I'm going to lay this on you real quick.
He was almost my pick, by the way. Pekka.
And a fantastic one.
Yeah.
Pekka Rinne managed to accomplish a couple of things in his career. One, he played his entire career here as a Nashville Predator. That in itself is noteworthy in today's professional sports landscape. After that, go into the numbers. If you want to get real hockey nerded out in hockey database, go in there and look at the top 20 goaltenders of all time, not of recent history, of the 100-plus years of NHL hockey, and find Pekka Rinne is in the top 19 in every single statistical category that exists for goaltending. If he had started a little younger, he got a little late start in his career, and if he had stuck around, which he could have, was plenty healthy, he could have bumped those numbers up to top 15, top 12 all time. But every statistical metric for a goaltender for Pekka Rinne is in the top 19 in the history of the game. And I think very few people realize and recognize that outside of Nashville.
That's, again, as I said, he was almost my choice. A lot of respect on him. I think you're right, though. I think he's criminally slept on. I think there's a, and again, not to say that Nashville isn't an important team in the league, but it's it's a bit of like, hey, you're not in a big market, you're not, you never moved on and won that cup somewhere else, and there's always those sort of doubters who say like, hey, you could have, the grass was greener on the other side, you could have gone somewhere else. But I think like for his time and for the class that he played with, I think you're absolutely right. Like, you should look inside the numbers and realize that he was an important goal, and he was an important reason why they kept chugging along at the time that they did. And
yeah, also won a Vezina finalist 2 other times.
Yeah.
So recognized league wide as the best at some point, and truly just a fantastic human being. He's the only statue that the Nashville Predators have ever erected, and it sits out on the plaza today. So when you fellas come down for our game, I'll be happy to get your picture with the Pekka Rinne statue. All right, fellas, I know I can talk about the Nashville Predators for about 1,000 hours like I've already done, but give me another team.
All right, so let's go to the Colorado Avalanche. I can hear you booing already. Captain, what have you cooked up for the Avs?
There have been a lot of really great players that have played for the Avalanche over the years, but I think a lot of them sometimes get associated with their teams that they originally started with. So you could say somebody like maybe Patrick Waugh or Ray Bourque, but when you really think of it, you think of them as a Canadian or Bruin, respectively. One guy who I believe played 1 year with the Nordiques before they moved on to Colorado, Peter Forsberg, was just a great, just like great vision on the ice. Always made the really tough pass, the smart pass, and I was always kind of jealous because he was definitely a two-way forward, but like he did have a lot of offensive skills, and I think sometimes that kind of overshadowed like what he did, like back checking and what he did defensively, blocking pucks, things like that. But a Swede with he was smooth on the ice. He had just great vision and was a big important part to that Avalanche team that unfortunately defeated the Devils in 6 games. So, but that to me, when you think, I mean, there's a lot of names that have played for Colorado, and I just decided to go with Peter Forsberg.
Funny you should say Peter Forsberg, because I also wrote Peter Forsberg. Jeez, I mean, it's such that's a chalky, but he had a nice long career as well. But 90s hockey lives in my brain. So Peter Forsberg, I think you said everything that I would need to say. Crazy Charlie, give it to us. Give us somebody. Give us some first name, and I guarantee you hate them.
No, I don't have a lot of anger towards the Colorado Avalanche. They've always been just a pretty good team that goes about things, pretty reasonably, pretty professionally. I've not run into many issues with them. One last comment about Forsberg. He was, at the time, European players especially had the rap for being soft. And Peter Forsberg was anything but that.
Yeah, he was a brick
as
wall.
hard as steel out there. And even at the end of his career, when he had 2 bad feet, 2 bad ankles, and he came to Nashville to play on the Predators, he was still a presence out there on the rink. All right, now here's mine.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the modern era because I took what Corby said to heart, because all the names I was coming up with were all go back to the Nordiques days. I'm going to go with the current best player on the Avalanche, and Nathan MacKinnon. If it wasn't for the fact that the best player in the world is in the Western Conference in Edmonton currently, Nathan MacKinnon would be the player who carried that belt if it wasn't for what's going on with the Oilers. MacKinnon is the other player that I watch in person. When he touches the puck, I immediately become fearful. He is dominant. He can cut through your entire defense as if they don't exist. Even calling them pylons at that point would not quite point it out. But MacKinnon today, in today's game, is easily one of the most dominant players on the rink, and you got to see how that guy goes live. Again, if it wasn't for McDavid, MacKinnon would be the guy.
He'd be at the top of the pyramid.
I think that. I have that argument all the time. I actually make a case that is MacKinnon, better than McDavid. McKinnon's already won a Stanley Cup. McKinnon's stats are not too dissimilar. It's one of those hockey nerd arguments I love to get into because I know it gets people riled up. Everybody knows McDavid is unanimous right now, but MacKinnon is one worth discussing. Yeah,
he's also beloved. Like he's their top jersey seller. He's he's basically like the face of their franchise. And you're right. There should be more people around the hockey universe that are. I think there's enough people that talk about him, but I think there should be more people talking about his prowess. He's a great playoff player. What an unbelievable playoff player. He's got a lot of guts. So yeah, that's of course coming from a expert mind such as yours. I respect that. Let's move on to the Minnesota Wild. And I will kick this off. This might break your heart, Captain. I am stealing one of your former Devils, and first name that comes to my mind is Zach Parise. Partially because I know it broke Devils' hearts. Devils love Zach Parise, and it was a shame that he had to leave New Jersey, went to Minnesota, was immediately a playoff presence for the Wild for a few seasons. Scrappy. I think he's a scrappy player, and I always liked the way that he conducted himself on the ice. So Zach Parise would be the guy.
How dare you?
I know it wasn't. I knew it wasn't going to go well, but
I also went with Zach Parise. Also, I'm gonna. Well, at that time, I mean, they had him and Ilya Kovalchuk,
Kovalchuk, yeah,
Kovalchuk. And, Lou was always just very stingy, never wanted to pay anybody. That's why people always ask me, why do you have a Devils jersey with your last name on it? And I'm like, because I'm not going anywhere, but everybody else probably is. Because at the time, you could go down a list of memorable or important people that Lou was just like, okay, go ahead. So, that team wants to pay you $5 million. We only want to pay you $4 million. I hope you enjoy Minnesota.
Swinging door is open.
But again, like Modano, I just want to throw some love to Parise, what he did for the U.S. team.
Yep.
Brought class, brought that grit that I like to say Devils hockey, and some people laugh, but I think he brought that to the U.S. team during those years that he was allowed to play for Team USA. So I'll leave it over to Chuck. I'm going to come over here and cry for a little bit.
Stop now. So. Stop now.
For uniqueness of this topic and conversation, because of the player you both named, I'm going to bring the third leg of the triangle in on that story right there and say Ryan Suter, and this is why. Suter Parise signed 12-year contracts on the same day, becoming what was supposed to be the beginnings of the Minnesota Wild dynasty going forward.
You're right.
This is a big story in a different way. It's a big story because of the epic failure of the Minnesota Wild in thinking that getting those two players who were beloved in New Jersey and Nashville to defect from their clubs under dubious circumstances and then sign with Minnesota long term because, well, they're good Minnesota boys and good friends from childhood, it turned out to be such a spectacular failure for the Minnesota Wild that to this day, Ryan Suter is still the most booed player in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena because of the way he said, I won't leave to sign anywhere else. Thanks, Minnesota, for your 12-year deal. And because of the epic failure that it led to for a decade before they decided to part ways and basically get rid of both of those players quietly under the cover of night, to not even have to publicly admit what a bizarre failure it was, that they promised their entire fan base, these two guys, Suter and Parise, they're the guys. So I just wanted to tell that whole story. That's bringing Parise into this was fantastic.
That's good. I like the inside baseball element to this, the contract difficulty. Couple more in the Central. We've got the St. Louis Blues. I defer to the captain first on this one.
I'm going to be a little greedy on this one. I'm taking two players. The first thing you say St. Louis Blues, the first thing I'm thinking is Hull and Oates.
Okay,
and
all right.
Brent Hull and Adam Oates, because that was back when SportsCenter used to be somewhat creative on ESPN, and the guys used to throw out nicknames, and I was all in on that. Like I know it sounds simple, but I just thought whoever, I forget which SportsCenter guy came up with it, but I was like, that's effing genius.
I feel like that could be a Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann combo.
They were a deadly they were a deadly combination. I think the one year Hull, I think, came close to 80 or might have scored 80 goals, and I think every one of them was assisted by Adam Oates. So for me, you say St. Louis Blues, they're a man-eater. They're Hull and Oates.
That's good. That's great. I dug into my hockey brain back to the 80s on this one. Longtime St. Louis Blues captain and one of the great names in sports, Bernie Federko. I always again, it's part of me is I saw the card when I was a kid, possibly in O-Peachy. And I was always like, how do you pronounce that name? And I think my dad was the one who was like, his name's Bernie Federko, and we don't like him. And I was like, no, that name is sticking in my brain. And he was, again, I think he was the captain until 80, maybe 87 or 88. And I think he started in probably a decade before that. So he was a guy that was a carryover from the 70s. The St. Louis Blues were not anybody's idea of a great team at the time, believe me. But it was such a fun name to hear. Marv Albert call on the Rangers broadcast at the time, and then looking at it at the card and was like, oh, Bernie Federko, and we don't like him. So that's who I'm sticking with. Chuck, I'm sure you've got somebody, hopefully, that has such an exciting name as that. Hall and Oates, Bernie Federko.
I could go with that one-hit wonder Wayne Gretzky. That was a part of that team briefly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe I could go with someone's a little bigger legend, St. Louis Blues, like Tony Twist back in the 90s, whose jersey somehow resided over the top of his head before the game even started. Twister, man, he was a maniac. But I mean, it all begins and ends with the Hulls. I mean, when you talk about the level of production, goals, awards, history, amount of time and service for the whole family there with the St. Louis Blues, that is the pretty incredible story. When you have a legacy family like that, multiple Hall of Famers, I got to go with the Hulls. Yeah,
that's a layup almost. So, funny names aside.
Hey, I hit those 1 out of every 4 times back at Holy Family in 7th grade, so not bad. It's good.
Is it even worth it to talk about Utah yet? I mean, Clayton Keller seems like he's a good player, and he was he a draftee for them? Or was he expansion?
Keller was a draft pick for the Coyotes. Yes.
Okay. So right.
and quite successful. He's actually been probably their most successful player. For the last couple of years. And quite a bit of surprise that he actually to stay there, but he clearly knew something that the rest of us didn't, and his emergence in Utah, he's a very, very popular player out there. Can we talk about him yet? No, but the Mammoth, I think, at least I think that's a good name, and I'm happy for the franchise, and it seems like getting involved with the Utah Jazz ownership, having an arena to themselves, not being booted around, and us not having to pretend that them playing in a 5,000-seat arena was somehow some amazing thing like NHL propaganda tried to force us to believe. It was a dying franchise that was about to be moved is what it was. But I'm happy about the Mammoth. I'm happy they're in the Central Division still, and I look forward to discussing them for years to come. Hopefully they do something out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Captain, I know you just kind of harbor a little bit more of a, the soccer guy in you really likes the Utah HC, right?
Oh, I was all for it staying Utah Hockey Club. And I just want to throw it out there that nobody who plays for the Utah Mammoth has ever been in my kitchen.
That's good. All right, good. Do you have a sign that says "Keep hockey players out of my kitchen"?
Nah, just Utah ones.
Just Utah's. All right, so that closes out the Central, first division down. Let's move on to the Pacific, and let's go out to I guess a city that's in the news right now. Let's go with the LA Kings to start off with. And I will start off, and I am not going to go Gretzky. I am not. I'm going to go Luc Robitaille, because I think Luc Robitaille was another incredible offensive player and bounced around the league everywhere. But to me, I tie him to the Kings because that's where I think he had his greatest success, in my opinion. And I think he made himself a prolific goal scorer in that system. And I always think of Luc Robitaille. Plus, again, another awesome name to read. It could be absolutely brutalized and mispronounced if you don't read it the right way. So I'm sticking with old Luke on this one. Cappy.
You mean Lucy Robitaille?
Yes. Okay, all right. Good call.
Since you took my player, I'm gonna pivot to just a shout out to back to old school hockey when you had a Gretzky, you had a Mario Lemieux, you had that goal scorer type of guy. You needed the enforcer. You needed the guy that, hey, if you try to fuck with Gretzky, this guy's gonna go. And he followed Gretzky around a lot during his career. I'm going to throw out Marty McSorley, who was basically, his job was, hey, you're Gretzky's personal bodyguard. When he's out on the ice, you don't let anybody, somebody tries to check him, somebody tries to hit him dirty, you know what to do. And he was a solid player. I mean, there was a period where the term goon would go to guys like McSorley or Bob Probert, or they had a purpose to be on the team, and it wasn't like they didn't know how to skate and they were always they were solid hockey players. They weren't. This was what their job was. Their job was, if you want to be in the NHL and you want to have a career, you have to be defensive minded, and you got to skate with your head up and make sure you protect our guy.
Yeah, get a body on the person that's chasing around your star player, and put your star in a bubble, and that bubble revolves around you. So yeah, I think Marty McSorley was an absolute asset and an absolute bodyguard on the ice.
And a mullet that reaches top shelf all time. Levels.
Hockey
McSorley
hair.
was another one. He was another one that wore the very old school shoulder pads and chest protector, the really small ones from the 70s.
Yeah.
So when the jersey would come up, he'd only have two little pads and the straps, and they'd come flying off. Then he'd be in the penalty box dressing himself. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And fellas, just think about this. You just mentioned McSorley's role with the Kings and the Oilers, of course, following Gretzky around his personal bodyguard. 2,800 points with a guy on your line that basically did not need his stick other than to tap a guy and say, you want to go.
Right.
So just to put in perspective, how impressive the offensive capabilities of Gretzky was. For me, when it comes to the LA Kings, I'm going to go back to Generation 1. I'm going to go back to the original uniforms, the gold and the purple
Gold and
that
perps.
looked the same as the Lakers, and who brought Showtime to the Forum on the LA Kings side of things. And, of course, I only know about him because I was a young Rangers fan when they were signing every former legend and captain in the late 80s. Marcel Dionne.
Marcel Dionne.
Marcel Dionne. If you go back and you read anything about that era of hockey, Marcel Dionne was the highest skilled. He was the easiest to photograph. He was the most sought after autograph. He was simply a star among stars in Los Angeles. And for hockey to be in its first generation out there, he had a lot of weight on his shoulders to help bring that gap between Hollywood and hockey together, and he helped do that. Marcel Dionne was a mega star in LA.
Yeah, that's a good callback. I think you're right. Like very flashy type, very not show offy, but like very showman on the ice, and just kind of didn't help him that there wasn't enough talent around, because I don't think that Kings team didn't really pop off until Gretzky got there, obviously, and they put a lot more focus in it because they wanted to have a generational star as part of their organization. But
and it worked.
For what it's worth, as a bridge, Marcel Dionne, hockey fans, longtime hockey fans know that name and respect the name. Let's dance around to the team that's currently in the Stanley Cup Final, battling for survival here, the Edmonton Oilers. A bunch of these names have a bunch of the guys on this their rosters have been mentioned already. But Captain, give me your thoughts. First Edmonton Oiler that comes to brain.
For me, it's Paul Coffey. I started really watching hockey, I would say maybe mid 80s, and there wasn't really outside like the Stanley Cup Finals, there wasn't a lot of outside of local hockey. Like there was no national contract yet or anything, and so for me, like a lot of the hockey that I watched were those 80s Edmonton teams, because they were in the finals just about every year for a stretch there, their dynasty, and trying to learn the game, trying to, what's icing? Can somebody explain to me what's an offsides? And like, I know offsides in soccer. What's offsides in hockey? Like, I found it really weird that somebody who was a defenseman could be such a good offensive player. So in my mind, defensemen were always like, all right, your job is just to stop, stop the guy.
Yeah, play back on the puck.
Get down and block some pucks, blah, blah, blah. But like, Coffey could do that, but he was just as skilled as some of the wingers or centers that were on teams, and he was just cool to watch. Just like, because it wasn't like, all right, we just have to get the puck to Gretsch, and Coffey could do damage too. Like he could carry the puck into the zone. He was a killer on the penalty on power plays. He was just obviously he's a Hall of Famer. Went on and played with Detroit, but the first name that kind of popped into my head was Paul Coffey.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That is a fantastic choice right there. Of all the bigger names and legends that you could have picked, Paul Coffey might have been maybe the best conversation piece right there. Double M, what do you got, man? Let's go. I'm getting fired up here.
I dodge around Wayne on this one.
I know where you're going.
The first name that comes to your mind is obviously Wayne Gretzky, because he's the first hockey player name that, other than a Ranger, that I knew. But I am going to go with Yari Curry, because, again, I'm a sucker for a fun and exciting name to say. And honest to God, like, the Oilers had a shit ton of them for a while there. But Yari Curry was a solid character player. He was a role player on those cup teams. And, again, bounced around the league, followed Gretzky eventually to the Kings, and lasted a while in the league after that. And everything was law of diminishing returns afterwards, because once you have that dynasty and you win a bunch of cups in a row, you start, you kind of start to slow down and you're not as prevalent. But for a period of time, like, his name was synonymous with the top guys on that Edmonton team. So for the funness of saying Yari Curry and writing it out as well, he's my guy. for the Oils.
I'm a sucker for a 600-goal scorer with hands like that. So Yari Curry was another great choice. And I think both of you might have just left this one. You might have had a pre-show discussion to leave this one for me. You might notice I'm wearing a jersey, and if you can see the number on it, well, no, you can't because I don't have side numbers. It's number 11, and it's number 11 for a reason. And this goes back to previous 1994. The only player outside of New York that I ever cheered for as a kid was the one and only Mark Messier for the Edmonton Oilers. Because, well, let's face it, when we were growing up, the Oilers were on our TV because they were in the Stanley Cup Final every year. They were usually taking on the Islanders or the Flyers or somebody on the East Coast, which brought them into our living rooms for at least a couple of weeks every year. So I would get to see and hear all about Gretzky. And, of course, I recognize the incredible player that he was. But as you guys may have noticed with me over the course of my life, I'm a little more into the tougher side of the game. I like the nuance. I like the guys that go to the front of the net. I mean, it's no secret that Adam Graves is my favorite hockey player of all time because the toughness and what he did. But Mark Messier, he was that guy in Edmonton. He also brought the skill, and he brought everything else, and he had to play second fiddle to the greatest offensive player of all time in Wayne Gretzky for the majority of his career. But then after Gretzky goes to L.A., Messier does what most people thought was impossible in an age where the Calgary Flames and other teams in the Western Conference were becoming juggernauts. Messier goes and wins another cup with an aging out dynasty, and then just goes ahead and gets himself dealt a huge deal and becomes the MVP and wins another cup in New York. So Mark Messier, for my money, and it is a personal bias creeping in for sure, but he won one more Stanley Cup in Edmonton than Wayne Gretzky. His offensive numbers are somewhat comparable to that same time period for Wayne Gretzky, and there is no doubt they were 1A, 1B when it came to the superstars of the Edmonton Oilers dynasty. Always have time for talking about Messier. He is a true inspiration. It's the reason I play center. It's the reason I wear number 11. It's the reason I'm on the penalty kill and I go to the front of the net. It is that guy all the way.
That's a stamp of approval if I've ever heard one, for sure. So let's go to, you mentioned them just briefly, the Calgary Flames, another team in the North. I will kick this off. Their captain, Larry McDonald,
nice,
a guts player, a physical guy, a heart and soul. And this is a guy that sort of petered out by the time that the 90s came around, and the style of play kind of enveloped over Larry Mack, but. Man, to watch some of the archive footage and the highlights that you see, you're like, I absolutely believe that, like, when there was more breadth to being named a captain on a team, I don't think anybody carried a C as, I guess, with as much of a badge of courage as a Larry McDonald.
He was a captain's captain, as we like to say. And I've interviewed his head coach from that time period, Terry Crisp, many, many times over the years, and I've gotten him to speak at great length about that Calgary Flames team. Everything you just said, Double M, has been backed up and definitely confirmed by the one and only Terry Crisp. You're 100% right with that. He was the heartbeat of that team, and there were maniacs like Theo Fleury and all them other young kids, and Stu Grimson running around, and then you had McDonald, who kept it all together. And the one I'm going to bring up too in a second after the captain is also another travesty that did not get that Stanley Cup that the franchise and the player individually deserve. But I want to hear what the captain says first.
Okay.
Well, it may be hard for some to believe, but back in the day, when I was younger, there was nothing more exciting than to go to a hockey game or any type of sporting event and have something to jeer an opposing team about. Whether it was whoever the Yankees were playing, the Devils were playing. So when I think Calgary Flames, the one guy that just gave, he just gave you a lot to kind of fire off at, and that's Theo Fleury. He definitely, there was a lot of ammunition in his day that you could kind of, heckle him or yell shit at. He was a really good player. He was, and that added on top of it was like, he would score a goal and you would just be like, "Hey, F you," but and you would say other things, but but as I get older and mature, I'm glad to hear that, it seems that he has turned his life around and, does some good things now and stuff, contrary to what he did when he was, some of the time when he was playing. I know he's like a motivational speaker now, and he does work with people who are victims of sexual abuse and stuff like that. But at the time, if you had, it always seemed like the Devils played Calgary like in January, and it was like a cheap ticket. It was like a Wednesday night. Like, all right, you want to go see Flames? It was like, all right, who the hell am I going to yell at about the? He already gave you a lot to yell about. He's usually in the news.
Yeah.
So that's who I think of.
Tabloid fodder.
Flames.
Yes. Yeah, Theron was a maniac at that time period, and a superstar in the league. And let's not forget his rampaging through the '96 World Cup as a part of Team Canada, which of course Team USA did take down in that 3-game series. But Theo was on a run in that one. I'm going to go with Jarome Iginla, captain during the early 2000s. Another one. This guy was the face of the league for a brief time. And a lot of people blinked and might have missed it, but he was a 40-plus goal scorer every year. And while we have a couple of players in the league right now, like a Matthew Tkachuk, like a Brad Marchand, of course, and there are a few others, nobody was the total package like Jarome Iginla. He would come to Nashville, he'd score 2 goals, he'd get in a fight, and then he would have some other epic moment during the game, some big hit or some big chirping. Or Jarome Iginla was the straw that stirred the drink. And that 03-04 Stanley Cup final against the Tampa Bay Lightning was just incredible. It wasn't for Nikolai Hobby-Bulin, the Bulin Wall, shutting Iginla down. Jarome Iginla would be the captain that brought the cup back to Canada. Underrated, underappreciated. He brought every tool to the rink every single night. And he'd score a goal, put a dagger in you just as quick as he'd punch you in the face and break your nose. Love that guy.
Yeah, guts player for sure. So let's move to, we're still in Canada. We're still in Western Canada. Let's hit the Vancouver Canucks. And Captain, who say you for the Canucks?
So there's a brief period, I would say late 80s into the early 90s, where not only was I really into hockey, but I started collecting a lot of trading cards, hockey cards, football cards.
Score, as you mentioned before.
Score, Don Run, whatever it was. Score was a pretty good hockey card that they made some
that Score
good
90 set was good.
It
man.
was, yeah.
If you got a lock on that 1990 Score NHL box set, you are in good shape for the card shows in the future.
I've opened up many boxes of those for sure. So
you were ready to go to the Ramada Inn.
So obviously, like, when you think about baseball cards, there always seemed to be a guy that came in every pack, and you're always like, what the why do I always get this guy? That guy for me in the Score hockey cards was goaltender Kirk McLean. I either got his regular card or his all-star card in every pack. And I was always like, I would see McLean, and I'd be like, oh, I got a Johnny. Oh, no,
not that McLean.
Shit, man. Or I'd see the Kirk part. I'd be like, oh, Kirk Muller. And I'd be like, no, it's this fucking Kirk McLean again. Jeez. I'm like, oh, he made it all great. He made it an all-star team. Like, oh, I'm like, if he would have ever won an award, I probably would have got every award card then too in every pack. But so I know there's been a lot of great players that played for Vancouver. That's just a personal thing. Like when I see the old school Canucks logo, I'm like, oh, fucking Kirk McLean.
By the way, at that time, the ugliest uniforms. I don't think they've improved that vastly in the close to 40 years since.
No,
but
I liked them better when they were black and confusing rather than blue and confusing. I get it. Like, I understand what they're trying to go for. I just don't dig it.
The one in the 80s and the 90s, looked the most when they call it a hockey. They don't call it a jersey. They call it a sweater. And I think they in Vancouver they took it a little bit too seriously, and they really wanted to make it look like a V-neck sweater for the V in Vancouver. It's one of the most alarmingly terrible. It looks like a rug from the 70s that they just draped over themselves.
Every Jersey foul countdown that comes out has that one as a part. Let's see. Fellas, I could easily go with the most terrifying Vancouver Canucks player of all time, which was Pavel Bure. And
that's my guy.
God,
the Russian Rocket.
I can still see it in my head right now. Mike Richter going into the splits and kicking out the leg and stopping maybe the most important penalty shot in Stanley Cup final history. But I'm going to go with a different story. And Double M, you can take Pavel Bure. I'm going to go with a unique story that I just thought was a very cool moment in NHL history, and that was when the Canucks moved up in the first round to draft both Sedin twins, and then allowed the Sedins to play their entire careers together in Vancouver. They were successful. They made the playoffs many times. They didn't win the overall cup, but as far as Vancouver Canucks history, it's one of the greatest stories in NHL history. Two twin brothers drafted together, playing together on night in, night out, but they also did statistically measure up to some of the greatest legends in Vancouver history.
You know, it's funny about that, and I think there's a lot of credit that can be taken out of that. I think there's a little bit of a warmth when it comes to brothers in the NHL and through NHL history. They always figure out a way to play with each other, whether it's a set of 3 brothers, 2 brothers, 4 or 5 brothers, whatever it is. It's intangible. The NFL does have that. You do have guys that share, baseball fields on and off, like that are brothers. But I think it's more prevalent in hockey, and that's a fun stat, and that's a fun fact. Always to bring up, hey, how many sets of brothers played on the same ice for the longest period of time, and such. You can get in the weeds with trivia questions with brothers and even fathers and sons that have stuck around the league long enough.
Go back to the North Stars with the Broughtons, and of course that was one of the biggest stories of the 80s, late 80s. And then we just mentioned the Sedins, and now we're currently fully immersed in a full Corby moment, which is the Hughes brothers. And
that's right.
The Hughes brothers are a fascinating success early in their careers in the NHL, and if the NHL is smart, they will build upon that in part of their marketing and promotionals, because you mentioned it, something about 2 brothers playing together in professional sports, it's easy to attach yourself to it. It's so simple. It's an easy storyline to get behind.
Yes, absolutely.
Rumor has it that the Devils are going to try to bring in the third Hughes brothers in this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what.
Wow.
And plus, if you're thinking about brothers and famous hockey names, I think you got to throw a Suter. I mean, I think there was a Suter basically on every team.
The Stalls
for about 20 years.
Stalls is a great one.
Yeah.
Stalls, yeah.
You can.
I think that's a very good topic for you guys to delve into, perhaps on another episode in the future.
So
we have organically discovered future content right here.
It always happens.
That's how next level we are in this conversation right now.
Man,
this is a mind meld.
Mike, that's a great idea. Man, if we only knew somebody who read the Hockey Encyclopedia cover to cover. Do you know anybody?
I don't know.
Find a guy?
Let me ask. I'll send my feelers out. I know people at the NHL, so. All right, let's chug along. Vegas Golden Knights, another team that has a short history, and I went with their, I think, recently retired longtime goalkeeper, centerpiece of that team, Marc-Andre Fleury. Brought them to prominence very quickly. Got them into a cup final. Win the cup. They won the cup that year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's immediately successful, and just did he just recently retire or hint towards retirement? Is that?
This was it. This season was it.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
He had his farewell tour this season.
And that's really again, you don't have a lot to dig through their history, or and they've been very successful very quickly. So I'm sure they're going to have a lot of magic moments and magic players that come along and play for them. But Marc-Andre Fleury just hits it for me for sure. So, Captain, what do you say?
I went with Captain Jack Sparrow, who was integral or an integral part of their pregame show.
Okay, good.
When they had the Pirates of the Caribbean, pumped the crowd up before every game. So
Naturally.
yeah, I went. I had Marc-Andre Fleury. I wish I could say I'm in touch with Vegas's roster, but he had that night, like you were saying, he had that nice run with the team that won the cup, and he was his last game, the handshakes and everything was all over the interwebs, as they like to say. So
yeah,
that was my choice. It's kind of tough. They haven't even hit the 10-year mark in the team in the league. So
it's also West Coast hockey. We're East Coast guys. We're gonna stay up till 10:45 for first.
Plus the fact that they're Vegas Golden Knights, not the Las Vegas. Like, they're just Vegas Golden. Like you're not even. That would just be a team being the Angeles whatever. You're not gonna put the Los Angeles.
Let's go ahead and wreck that whole marketing plan from the beginning. How are you not just Vegas Knights? Las Vegas Knights.
Yeah.
Like, forget the armor, forget the swords and sandals, forget all that. How are you not just the Las Vegas Knights?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Boom! It's done. Yeah. Marketing complete. Thank you. You guys are welcome. You can still do your 75-minute pregame presentation. Listen, I have taken some illicit substances in my life, but I was totally straight the night I was at a Golden Knights game, and I definitely asked the guy next to me, "Man, am I okay right now?" And he said, "Brother, I have no idea, but I'm seeing tracers everywhere." I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights are wild. I hate how much success they have had so quickly. It is a mirage that has shown other people that are willing to piss away $600 on NHL expansion. Yeah. All you have to do is buy a team and you're going to win. Well, ask the Seattle Kraken how that worked out, because it didn't. But I will give you one, and Double M, I'd like you to, I think, consider this for your all-time name list. It's one that I enjoy saying quite a bit.
Fire away.
He did win a Stanley Cup in Vegas. He was one of their top players for the first 5 years of the franchise. Jonathan Marchessault.
Oh, hello. I like that.
Marchessault is a very fun name to say. He's a gritty player. He's now here in Nashville. He signed a huge contract to come here.
Good.
He represents himself very well out on the ice, but he's one of those guys that in an age where hockey players will never give a comment, he's not afraid to give an opinion on something. When the team was going bad last season, he spoke up. He's a captain's captain, I think. Unfortunately, here in Nashville, he's just wearing an A, but we'll see if that doesn't evolve over the next year or two. But Jonathan Marchessault.
It's a good name. It's a good name to tuck back.
Las Vegas Knights.
Again, marketing 101. We should be calling them up. Easy.
Listen, I was excited about that franchise, and the day they held the press conference at like 1:15 in the afternoon and showed that dumb logo and said, "We're going to be the Vegas Golden Knights." I just, I made a joke about urine streaks or something, and I changed the channel, and I've never checked back in with them. That was an if. Your marketing plan turned me off.
Good to see you guys.
At least their marketing plan wasn't like, all right, we're going to be the Vegas Golden Corrals.
Yeah, well, all right. That might be more appropriate.
They would have hit the proper age demographic for Vegas, though. All right, next franchise.
So let's hit it. The Anaheim Ducks, formerly Mighty, but now just Ducks. I defer to the captain on this one.
Is it too early to say Chris Kreider?
I thought you'd go Jacob Trouba.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna go.
All right, shots fired. Shooting going on.
There we are.
Talk about fun names to say or somewhat confusing. I went with Paul Kariya.
I like Paul Kariya. Yeah.
Kariya, not like Korea, like the country. Which, when he started having his run, you would kind of watch like the 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock Sports Center, and you just kept on hearing about this guy Paul Kariya, and I'm like, I don't ever see his name in the box score. Like, they keep talking about him. Who the hell?
There it is.
And then eventually I saw a game. And I was like, oh, it's not spelled like the country. Oh, that makes more sense. But yeah, he was in that whole like rebranding. Like, we're not going to be a joke anymore. We're not going to be a Disney, tax write-off. We're going to try to become a legitimate hockey team and a hockey franchise. Korea was at the forefront of them turning that page and having their little run that they did. I know he bounced around. He went to a couple other teams towards the end of his career, but you think of Anaheim Ducks, I think Paul Kariya.
Paul Kariya, that's a good one. I am going to recycle a name that you mentioned earlier. I go with Teemu Selanne, the Finnish Flyer. Again, I'll keep banging the drum for 90s hockey, and he was awesome. A lot of I think the Finnish national team, like, I just remember him, kind of guiding them along and like them being competitive in the Olympic runs and everything. But yeah, just a guy that lasts a good amount of time and won a lot of trophies around the league. Again, fun name, Teemu Selanne for sure. Chuck, who say you?
You guys got some good choices right there. I'm going to go with, in the Ducks era, the player that came to the team and advanced them from the Kariya and Selanne age, which did not get anything accomplished except for almost getting Paul Kariya murdered by Scott Stevens and the neutral zone, which is still maybe the greatest open ice hit ever thrown in the NHL. Wow. But I'm going to go with Scott Niedermayer. Scott Niedermayer comes along at a time when the Ducks were kind of floundering. It was just before Corey Perry came to the team. It was just before some of the most well-known names of that generation, and Niedermayer was there to help stabilize that blue line right through that 2008 Stanley Cup championship. And there is no denying that the Anaheim Ducks at that time, under Scott Niedermayer's leadership, took a page out of the 1975 and 76 Philadelphia Flyers playbook, and they simply beat the shit out of everyone in the league until the cup was theirs. It was truly the most violent Stanley Cup champions we've had in the modern era, and Niedermayer was the driving force behind it. Not a loud guy, not a flashy guy, but man, did he lead his squad into the trenches against incredible Western Conference teams of that era, like the San Jose Sharks and the St. Louis Blues, that were just dominating everything.
You got it. Excellent thought. Again, a name that I haven't thought of in a while, Scott Niedermayer. Excellent. There we go. You mentioned him seconds ago. San Jose Sharks. Captain, I'm going to let you kick it off.
If you're talking playoff beards, which is always, that's the thing. Guys don't shave during the playoffs until they lose. If he's not number one, he's definitely have to be in the top five, and that's Joe Thornton. Not only a great beard, but he was an outstanding player. Over 1,500 career points, 1,100 assists. So obviously he had that vision, as they like to say, and was very good at setting up his teammates. But San Jose has always been kind of like they kind of go up and down. Like they came into the league expansion, they were kind of like a doormat for a little while, then they got good, then they got but Thornton was like that little era that he played there. That was probably when San Jose, like, people actually gave a shit about San Jose. Other than, the Sharks are coming into town, that's going to be 3 points for us, which was probably the early years. But yeah, playoff beards, man, it don't get any better than the long white gray beard in the middle of it. It's phenomenal.
He's a great post-game interview too. Joe Thornton, again, another guy that has no problem sounding off and telling you what he thinks about the referees and how terribly they screwed them, or dirty play on the other side of the ice. I had Joe Thornton too, because I think Joe Thornton, he's almost like an epitome of hockey. Like, you think the world of the guy, and again, you want to hand him a trophy every year, and you're like, just because you're grit and just because you basically like put this team on your back for long stretches, we just want to hand you trophy after trophy. So that kind of encapsulates my thoughts on old Joe. Chuck?
I'm going to make it consensus, and here's why. I could easily pick a Patrick Marleau from the same time period because of how much he did in being the captain of the team and all, but I covered 3 San Jose Sharks playoff series here in Nashville from the opposition side of things. So I got a really really good chance to see Joe Thornton up and close for about 13, 14 total playoff games. And every single one of those games seemed to go exactly like this. It's close or it's tied in the third period. There's about 3.5 minutes to go. Jumbo Joe starts slowly backing into the crease. He gets so into the goaltender's area that he creates a full eclipse, and then someone like Patrick Marleau just skates right by and fires the puck right in. He was the biggest guy, the biggest screen. He did the littlest thing out there for his team. If he had to take a beating like he did that time against Eric Lindros when he was still with the Bruins, he did it. Listen, he was a man's man. He went out there and he faced the battle. Cross checks to the back, pucks to the front all night long. And the one thing I know for sure about Joe Thornton is he sent every Nashville Predators fan home pissed off 3 different playoff series. He was that dominant at that time, and that's another player that we've gone on. It's almost a shame that guy, for the numbers he has, for the wars he led, doesn't have anything to show for it in the end, other than a little bit of conversation here on the show.
I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. Like I have no doubt that like he'll get his flowers, as they say, afterwards. But he certainly is a guy that you think is synonymous. Like if for a stretch there, if the Sharks were in the playoffs, it's like, all right, I got to see what Joe Thornton's stats are, see how well he's playing, and he's going to be involved. He's going to be involved in anything, especially tight third period scenarios. The Kraken, are there. They exist.
They exist. Yeah, I mean,
cool.
They exist.
Jordan Eberle's a fun player.
They told me he was going to be Mark Messier, the second coming of Mark Messier. He's not that. The Kraken aren't the second coming of Vegas.
They're not.
And look, man, I think it's a good franchise with a lot of good ideas and good intentions. I wish them the best, but I don't see the Seattle Kraken being major players in the Western Conference.
It'll be a while.
Years.
Yeah, it'll be a while. They got to build a bus. All right, so we closed out the Western side of the table. Let's move to the Atlantic. Let's start in the Atlantic on the Eastern Conference. Maybe we'll try and pick up the pace on these. Just for the listeners' point of view, Toronto Maple Leafs. Captain, who do you think of when you say Toronto Maple Leafs? Maple Leafs.
I think of John Tavares. Wow. At the time, I believe I was working retail, and I would listen to the schmoozer, who would get like 20 minutes or whatever between like whenever the Ranger game or Knick game ended. And there was a good 3-month stretch that probably set the record. Was like the only time that people ever talked about the Islanders, or as Steve Summer would call them, the Icelanders.
The Icelanders.
And that was John Tavares's upcoming free agency. And he said he did the whole thing where like, I'm an Islander, I want to stay an Islander, I don't want to go anywhere. Then as it got closer, like all of a sudden, like there was a picture that popped up in I think it was the either the Daily News or somewhere, where like it was John Tavares as a kid, and he had a Maple Leaf sweater on, and his room was all decked out in Maple Leaf stuff, and he was like, yeah, I was a fan, but I want to stay in Ireland. And then I don't even think he made a day into the friggin' free agency, and he signed like some ridiculous whatever. They were signing like, they were trying to get around the cap and signing guys to like 15-year contracts and stuff, and like the whole idea was like, oh, local boy's going to come back, and this is it. Like, the Maple Leafs are finally going to, we're going to break the curse, and they just continue to be the Chicago Cubs of fucking hockey.
One day. So
it was like a double thing where like, hey, it was cool to see all Islander fans get their hearts broke, but then like it's almost kind of like, ha, fuck you, you went to Toronto for the money, and you didn't win shit there either. So double-edged. I'm all about bringing misery. Planet of hate.
Planet of hate for the Leafs and for the Isles. For me, it's Matt Sudin. God, just a synonymous guy with the Leafs for a good stretch of his career. And he did have some success with them. So not necessarily hardware or cups, but put in his time and certainly I think I had them going to the Stanley Cup final this year. I thought they finally had their shit together, and their fans certainly gave them shit for not having their shit together. So, all right, Crazy Charlie, hit us.
I'm here, you're there. The schmooze, my favorite of all time, probably besides WKRP in Cincinnati. The true inspiration of my entire career is the schmooze. So I'm going to go real quick on this one. I'm going to say Wendell Clark, and I'm going to say this. He was the toughest bastard to ever wear the leaf on his chest, and it's a damn shame that Wendell Clark doesn't have a championship to show for, because he was the man's man. In an era of the goons running wild, Wendell Clark wasn't afraid of anybody and might have had the sharpest elbows in the whole league.
Yeah. Bruiser. A bruiser for sure. I don't like to say good things about the Boston Bruins, but we certainly do have to talk about them a little bit. Boston Bruins, I will kick it off here, just because I think it's one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I'm going the literary point of view, and I'm going Derek Sanderson, old time 70s player for the Bruins. What an entertaining book. I got it somebody gave it to me, and I still have it. I never gave it back to them. But fun book, a wild man, an absolute loose cannon, off the ice, on the ice, not afraid to throw hands, not afraid to get in opposing players' faces in the 70s, in the no helmet days of the NHL. If you haven't had a chance, either of you, I'm sure, Chuck, you've probably seen it and talked to a few people about it. But his book, his autobiography, is a stunner. It's got so many fun and wild stories. So I'm going with him as my choice. I know there's a lot of other options out there, but I'm sticking with my literary guy, Derek Sanderson. Cappy?
I'm kind of gonna this guy killed the Devils. He killed a lot of teams in the league. Unfortunately, his career was kind of cut a little short due to a knee injury. But I'm gonna go Cam Neely with a tough son of a bitch. Could stop a puck with his face, get up, and lead the offensive charge down the other side and bang one into the back of the net. He's just, when you think of tough, gritty, oh man, your team's getting ready to play Boston. It's this is gonna be, this is gonna be a bruiser. They're not only will they probably lose to the Bruins and get the shit kicked out of them, but then 2 nights later when they're playing another team, they're probably still gonna have the effects of playing the Bruins. And Neely, I think, represented that better than no player during those 80s and then into the early 90s Boston Bruin teams.
Cam Neely is a fantastic choice, and I'm glad you brought him up because he deserves to get the conversation. The injury really cut short what was going to be a brilliant career, and that plays me right into what is easily the guy who changed the game, and it's actually not going to be my choice. I'm going to make 2 right here, but the guy who changed the game for all history, but also had his career shortened, but then helped off ice change the way hockey players sign contracts because he personally got ripped off so bad that he had nothing at the end of his Hall of Fame career. That's Bobby Orr. He changed the entirety of the sport. But I'm going to give the Bruins a historical credit for something else that they did that no one else was willing to do, and that was the signing of Willie O'Ree. Breaking the color barrier in the NHL was a massive, massive moment for all of sports, and Willie O'Ree would go on to have an okay career, but as far as the way he represented the league until his passing, I got a chance to meet him, interview him, talk to him, read his book. He came to Nashville many times. Willie O'Ree is one of the most transcendent historical NHL figures, and he was a member of the Boston Bruins, and they're the ones that made it happen, so they deserve the credit for that historical moment.
I love that. That's a nice little historic wrinkle. That's a nice, awesome story. So let's nosedive into the other team that's currently in the NHL Finals, the Florida Panthers, the bane of the Eastern Conference's existence. I will defer to the captain to kick us off in Panther Town.
Just because I can't stand their team right now, I'm going to go old school to the original when their expansion year, when I was like, they're putting teams in Florida. This does not make any sense to me. the man who scored the first goal in franchise history.
Oh,
I believe he was probably more recognized as a Flyer. Bounced around a little bit, but I'm going to go Scott Mellenby.
wow.
Great choice.
Wow. That's a rabbit out of the hat.
Ta-da!
Great choice. Yes.
Ta-da. I like it. For me, it's Roberto Luongo. And it's, Jesus Christ, another guy who just like an imposing keeper, even if you're shooting pucks underneath the guy's mask and he's still just like a little sip of water and he's back out there. So tough as nails, impossible to like figure out like, how to beat him on certain nights, strong, and could actually, again, like fight back as brilliantly as any keeper that's been around the league, I guess, in the last like 25 years. He's, again, another guy that you if you faced him late in the year, you would think, all right, well, this is finally the time where we're going to get him because he's tired, because he needs a day off, and he's going to, and then he shuts you out. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, there's no way to outthink him. So, size, brains, and guts are the three things about Roberto Luongo that I'm going to throw in there, and that's why he gets my Florida Panther nod.
Let's not forget, everybody, the reason today the Florida Panthers throw rats on the ice after they win a game on the home rink is because in the earliest years when they went to the Stanley Cup Final the first time, it was Mellenby himself that happened to see a rat running across where the team enters into the rink, and he took a slap shot with it and, splattered it all throughout the rink. It became a famous, obviously legendary story amongst the players and the fan base, and that's why today, or tonight even, if you're watching Game 4, if the Florida Panthers win, you'll notice a large smattering of rubber and plastic rats being thrown on the ice, and it's because of what happened during that time. Fellas, my player, and I'm going to go back to the least flashy expansion pick in Florida Panthers history in 1993, but he was damn near leading them to the promised land against the Colorado Avalanche. It was the one and only, the man who you would never have assemble your glass coffee table over a Christmas break, John Van Beesbrook.
Oh, the Beezer, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Beezer in an era where they were trying to sell hockey to Miami, which was not hard because it was octogenarians from the Northeast who all remember John Van Beesbrook from the Rangers.
Yeah.
He led them to a Stanley Cup final in the first 3 years of the franchise. At that time, an expansion franchise having that much success that quickly, it hadn't been done since the original 1967 league expansion that saw the league go from 4 to 8 teams. So it was a huge, huge moment. And the Beezer was really a huge part of that early Florida Panthers, Miami Panthers team in the 93, 94, 95 era.
That's a good poll. God, give Beezer credit for having that second chance at it. Good for you, Beezer.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
He really did have a fantastic last couple of years after essentially being obsolete in New York. We all understand that. Saying you would prefer to have Van Beesbrook over Richter after 1993 would be as stupid as saying you wanted Terreri over Brodeur after 94.
Yeah, you're a liar. You're an absolute liar.
Yeah, you're full of shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's not forget an underrated thing with John Van Beesbrook. Maybe one of the best-looking dudes that ever played hockey.
A handsome man.
Imagine the amount of octogenarian poontang he hit that up in Florida. Listen, he's on this magic run for 3 years, and
he did good in the Villages.
South Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did good in the Villages. No, he probably had a customized Panthers golf cart. Rode around, gave out some autographed pucks.
Daughters and granddaughters need to be locked up when they're visiting their grandparents for sure. When Beezer's in town,
the Beezer.
The other the other Florida franchise. Here we are, Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm going to tip the cap and give the credit to Mr. Lightning himself, Steven Stamkos. It's just, again, it's another guy that I kind of hate his guts. I kind of, happy that he's not with the Lightning anymore, because it just separates him from a prolific career and just a menace time after time seeing him on that team, and that team full of talent. But, Jesus Christ, like Stamkos is he's Mr. Tampa Bay. So there's no other name in my book that goes here. Captain, can you think of anybody?
They're going with the historic side of things. Also touching on my hockey playing card collecting history. I'm probably going to totally butcher this name, but goaltender Manon Rameau.
Oh,
okay.
Was the first female goalie.
Okay.
First female player. Was very early on in Tampa Bay Lightning. I think she got into a game, or she was like a backup, like
preseason.
It wasn't, she wasn't exactly,
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't exactly, she didn't crack the starting lineup and played 50 games, but it was like really, like I think that led to female hockey's grown leaps and bounds, I think, in the past 20, 25 years, especially on the college, the Frozen Four, the tournament gets a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
And, plus the fact that with Tampa having some history of success and not wanting to root for anybody, I kind of went historic side. Picked that was another one that, like, if you had a couple of those cards, you're going to the Ramada Inn and you're going to make some money.
Yeah.
Everybody was buying those bad boys up.
I like that.
You might be getting a table on the front row near the entrance if you have those that kind of cash on you, man. That's really like you're going to bring the eyeballs in. Manon Rheaume was a great story for the NHL. I remember living through it. I have, of course, talked to Terry Crisp, who coached during that era. And listen, he is one of the most saltiest hockey players on earth. He was one of the Broad Street Bullies. He coached those 89 Flames. He was a broadcaster at Fox for years, which he's definitely a strange bird for that. But he was the coach that put Manon Rheaume on the roster and into those particular preseason games. And he would not have done that as a publicity stunt or a way to marketing ploy or anything like that. If you couldn't play hockey, Terry Crisp didn't give a shit about you. And I can tell you, he told James Neal himself during the Stanley Cup Finals, "Kid, you ain't a hockey player like we were back in the day." So Crispy was never afraid to share that story. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, for me, I'm going to go with the original Tampa Bay Lightning player back when all their numbers were 70s, 80s, and 90s because they wanted a marketing gimmick to come into the league with. Vincent Lecavalier came in and picked a very non-traditional forward number of 4. And he was their first captain, and he, of course, led them to their first Stanley Cup championship win over the Calgary Flames in 03-04. Lifetime player there. Vinny, they loved him down there in South Florida.
Yeah, Le Cavalier, that's again, when I think of playing, back when I played video game hockey in 2002, 2003, like, constantly hearing that name scoring against me was it's kind of a dog whistle to me. Le Cavalier on the wraparound or on the one timer, but yeah, like that's a good memorable guy. When that was, the Lightning's push, in that playoff run. So, we're gonna go to the bottom to the Buffalo Sabres right now. Boy, poor guys, poor doormat. Captain, what do you got for the Sabres?
I mentioned him earlier in the infamous Chicago Blackhawks trade. Buffalo Sabres, to me, is Dominik Hasek.
Yeah, and me too.
Although the best game that I've ever, like one of the best hockey games I've ever watched, he was playing for his country. Why am I totally forgetting where he's from? It was Team Canada against, I guess, like the Czech Republic, and he was the goaltender, and that's
okay.
That Canadian team in the Olympics, that was Gretzky, Messier, like the all-time, like that's the dream team of hockey. Was that Canada team? And I watched that man do everything, stand on his head. He made his patented where he would fly on his like he'd fly his legs up in the air and stop somebody going top shelf. I mean, he did everything. And that team, they won, I believe, in a shootout to advance and knock Team Canada out, which was a huge upset at that time because of all the names that Team Canada. I mean, they had like Lindros was like on their third or fourth line center. Like, it was ridiculous the amount of talent that team had. But it just proved that if you have a goaltender that's on fire, it don't matter what you have on the other side. Like, a goalie can win you a game.
Yeah. A Stanley Cup winner, a gold medal winner in that particular Olympics as well. He's my guy as well. Just such a long career too. He had some injuries and went to Detroit, won his cup in Detroit, and he was beloved in two places. So you can split hairs which one wants him. But for me, he's right down the middle for Buffalo Sabres. All right, Crazy Charles.
All right, got to see Dominik Hasek's final playoff game for the Detroit Red Wings. He got pulled at Bridgestone Arena in Game 2. Never came back and played again in that series. The Wings would lose that series, and that would be the end for an aging Dominik Hasek. But it was very, very cool to see a legend of that caliber at a playoff time of year here in Nashville. That was super cool. I'm going to go with a different name, even though that should be a consensus name because he is the greatest Buffalo Sabre I think of all time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one other because his career was cut short, and at the time that he was playing, I thought he was lightning on the ice. I thought that he was one of the most skilled players in the game, and if it hadn't been for a bit of a cheap shot, Pat LaFontaine would still be talked about today as one of the greatest offensive threats in the history of this game. It didn't matter which of the three New York teams he played for. He was always a lethal threat, and with the Buffalo Sabres wearing those cross sabers and that light blue and white, I mean, it was just spectacular to watch Pat LaFontaine skate.
He's again, the injuries, the concussions, and some of the bad hits that he took really aged him as quickly as it could be. But I mean, he was synonymous with like tri-state area hockey for sure. He was that on. It's like if you had your favorite Ranger, LaFontaine was your guy. With the Islanders or the Sabres or whoever it was like here's the marquee guy that's coming to town. Here's who they're going to talk about on the telecast, and it would be and Pat would get that. He would get that Duke and certainly lived up to a lot of the accolades.
Fantastic, fantastic player.
Yeah, and it's kind of sweet that like guys like us can like talk nicely about somebody who played for every team
in the area,
every team in the area. And still not say, he's a scumbag for leaving,
I put him above all of that just because of what a class player he was on and off the ice. How it unfortunately was cut dramatically short by a guy who, it's just like with Cam Neely. Cam Neely's Ulf Samuelsson. I remember the name of who took him out. But with LaFontaine, I don't remember who cheap shotted him in the head, giving him the beginning of the concussion problems. And that's one of those things about the NHL. We were robbed of a superstar player by a guy whose name the three of us dorks can't even recall at this point.
If someone wants to fact check me, please do so. But why do I think it was Al Iafrate from the Capitals?
If you were to come up with a suspect list, Al Iafrate would certainly be near the top of it.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
For some reason, I remember him being cheap shotted by somebody on the Capitals when he was with the Islanders, and that kind of set the ball rolling for his.
I'm going down that YouTube well tonight.
I'm going to
find that hit. I'm going to find that clip for us. I will. I'll send it to you guys.
Good. Looking forward to it. Let's go to the one of the more storied franchises in hockey history, NHL history, Les Habitants, the Montreal Canadiens. I am going to steal the thunder in this case, and I'm going to. I'm throwing the flowers to the Rocket himself, Maurice Richard, one of the greatest players in the history of the NHL, one of the fastest skaters at a time where guys hardly knew how to fucking skate, and an incredible like ambassador for hockey for decades and decades, and a guy whose name always comes up in comparisons. If as everybody knows, if you're climbing the ladder of prolific goal scorers, you're going to hit on those rungs. You're going to hit somebody like Rocket Richard, and it's always great when like old time players still talk about their interactions with him, their conversations with him, and he is one of the pillars of he would be on the Mount Rushmore of Canadian hockey players, absolutely, for sure, and guys that made the Habs synonymous with hockey for a great stretch in the 50s and the 60s. So the Rocket gets my vote for sure. Capitan.
I never understood why the Canadian, like when you say somebody is Canadian, it's DIAN, but the Montreal Canadiens are IEN.
Great question.
I hate the French.
Okay.
Wow. I hate Montreal. I hate the team. But if I have to pick somebody, I'm going to go with probably, if you want to have a separate podcast with like Hockey Nerd and go at it, like, was Patrick Waugh the best goaltender? Was Hasek the best goaltender? My list, he's number 1. I got Hasek 2, and then my boy Brody, Martin Brodeur, number 3.
All right. Okay.
He was the brick wall before anybody gave that term out to brick wall. Was really good early. There are other players, I think, goaltenders later on that kind of developed the skill, but not only was he good stopping the puck, he was a very good puck handler for a goaltender. But he led the Canadians to a cup, which, if you do that in Canada, they're probably building a statue of you somewhere. But then also later on in his career, hopped on board with the Colorado Avalanche and won a cup there. Did he get fired from the Islanders yet, or is he still the coach of the Islanders?
Still there.
Oh, he's still there?
Still there,
so,
yeah.
Well, that gives me another reason not to like him, because now he's the Islander coach.
Okay, all right.
And he was once a Canadian and then Avalanche. But I think synonymous with like that 80s into the early 90s Montreal Canadian, like, he was a brick wall, man. He was probably the best goaltender in the league during that time.
Yeah.
Double M, love your choice of Rocket Richard, and I love the fact that the NHL promotes its history by still having the goal scorer's trophy named the Rocket Richard Trophy. It makes people look it up every year who don't know, who may not have any idea. Having the names associated with the trophies, the awards, and constantly bring them back up through historical sense is just one of the nice touches, one of the things the NHL is extremely good at. Now, for the Montreal Canadiens, I am going to go with the last big star of the last great Canadian dynasty that existed. I'm going to go with the Flower himself, Guy Lafleur.
Yeah.
He had the flow. He had the touch. He was truly Montreal in every way, shape, and form. The Flower was one of the most beloved players in Canadians history for good reason. He put up the numbers, and he also put up plenty of awards and put some trophies in the cases for the Canadians. And he still had that massive, great flow when he got to Madison Square Garden at the very end of his career with the New York Rangers. But I'm going to go with Guy Lafleur.
Guy Lafleur, yeah, he's a great one.
The best thing about Guy Lafleur was when he was with the Rangers, he was one of the few guys that was grandfathered in and didn't have to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
So he would purposely comb his hair so that it looked like, even when he was sitting on the bench, like the hair looked like it was flowing in the wind, like he was skating on ice. It was perfect.
Yep.
Not since Ron Duguay had there been such flow at MSG.
That's it. It was a good looking guy, a good looking set of hair for those Rangers, the Broadway guys. Detroit Red Wings, another storied franchise, another long history. Cap, let's kick it off with you on this one.
So going back to something I originally said with another team, you're always looking for the guy to root against. Like if you're going to a Ranger game and they're playing the Red Wings, like, all right, you're going down the roster, like, oh, who the hell am I going to heckle? Who am I going to give shit to? Nobody better in the league than Bob Probert.
Badass.
When he came to town, I mean, I didn't watch many Ranger games, but like when he came to the Devils, it was like, all right, he's going to probably kick the shit out of Joey Crowder, because Crowder, he was our tough guy, but he wasn't that. Man, when Red Wings came to Madison Square Garden, man, you had to get that at TV, because you knew at some point Probert and Ty Domi were going to be on the ice at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And equipment everywhere, and they're going to. Who gives a shit? They're gonna knock you. They're gonna knock the shit out of each other. I have not had a chance. I know there's a Netflix documentary on him. It's on my list of things that I want to watch, just because of the on the ice, off the ice, everything that involved that guy was kind of like he was like the bad boy of hockey. In my time, he was. If you were a Red Wing fan, you probably loved that dude. Everybody else in the league hated that guy. So he's my choice. When I think Detroit, I know Gordie Howe and all the greats, but that was the guy that like, oh, I don't care if the Devils are going to lose tonight. Somebody just kick the shit out of Bob Probert.
Big Bad Bob.
And then I'll be happy.
Good friends with Ric Flair, Big Bad Bob, the new Jack of pro hockey.
Watch out. I look around, make sure I'm safe.
Yeah, watch yourself. His ghost.
Don't say that name a second time. He might appear.
His ghost is coming after you, Chuck.
He's still got heat with me. He's still looking for that last piece, man.
He's coming.
I gotta watch it.
Well, he's not. Believe me, he's not coming from above this time. I think he's coming from down below. My Detroit Red Wing, Steve Yzerman, is the man. Steve Yzerman is another guy that like. For a while there, like the Rangers are my team, and they had a lot of like great players, and after '94, it was always a chase to get back to what the glory that they had in '94. But then you looked around the league and you were like, man, I wish I had an Yzerman on my team. What a motherfucker he was! Like, what a great like ambassador for hockey, and he continues to be that way. I think the world of him. On the ice, like there are times where you wanted to slit his throat and you wanted to say like, get a body on this guy. I don't care how long you're going to get suspended. Start putting physical hits on him. But even if you tried to physically hit him, he just had the finesse to like spin away from it, continue down the ice, dish, get the puck back, put it in the back of the net, and then just basically shrug at you. You know, great long career. Synonymous with Detroit. Again, I'm sure he's got statues. He's got, streets, and there's probably 1 million babies that were born, between 1995 and 2015 that share a name with him. Even to this day, like he's lauded upon by that franchise and their fans. So he's one of one to me, and I know Gordie's the best that ever put skates on, and Gordie Howe is always going to be, again, he's a Mount Rushmore, but Yzerman does stuff for me. He's in my brain as a wing, so that's my pick.
I'm going to back you up on this one, Double M, because I'm going to say, in a team that started as part of the original 13 that has Mr. Hockey himself as part of their history, and by God, a list of legends that's so deep we could spend the whole night on it.
Yeah.
Steve Yzerman comes along with the pressure of all of that history as the youngest captain in Red Wings history. Yeah. And you mentioned it, 1995. Well, let's see. Corby, wasn't it right about that time that the Devils and the Red Wings played in the Stanley Cup final? So Stevie Y is already leading his team to a Stanley Cup final, and then would go on for the next 20 years and bring championship after championship, division title, trophy, team trophies, individual trophies. Steve Yzerman, in a team full of legends, is the best of the Red Wings. Does he have the all-time stats? No. But when you measure it in championships, the gravity of his participation in that roster for that long, he is simply the greatest wing of all time. And I got to see it up close and personal with my own eyes and cover it the last decade of his career. He is as special as Mark Messier.
That's it. That's actually a great comparison. I think that hits the nail.
That's high praise.
Yeah. Last of the Atlantic, we're talking Ottawa Senators. Captain, who do you have circled for the Sens?
The ultimate heel, the ultimate person to boo at arena, Dan Heatley.
All right, the heat machine himself, Dan Heatley.
Ouch. We've gotten Kovalchuk and Heatley in now. We've gotten all of Thrasher's history on this show.
Yeah, it's real. It's a Thrasher birthday party.
That's it. We've summed the whole damn thing up.
I think so. I'm gonna throw Erik Karlsson in there because I think like if you talk to a Senators fan, I think they're gonna say, "Well, dude, Erik Karlsson like brought us to like playoff prominence, and they were on a doorstep of winning championships, and he was." Fuck, I hate him. I just hate his guts. I hate his goddamn guts because he's the guy that pushed the Rangers out of the playoffs a couple times and he's the bully at the door. So if you say Senators, I'm going to look around and I'm going to be like, is Karlsson still with that organization? Is he not with the organization? Is he healthy? If he's healthy, he's on the ice. Good luck because that dude's a fucking pest. And he's really good. And I want to throw him out a window, but I also want to give him, a soft landing when I throw him out that window. So Erik Karlsson hits it for me.
I'll be quick about this. Alfredsson, because of the story, the return, the comeback, the stats he put up, it's probably, from the heart standpoint, the greatest Ottawa Senator of all time. Numbers-wise, probably not. But I will say this. For anyone out there who really needs 6 to 8 minutes of comedy gold, please look up on YouTube the Ottawa Senators inaugural team introductions and try to figure out just what in the hell that show was all about. That might be, other than Stormy the Pig getting almost burned to death inside the Zamboni in Carolina, might be the worst introduction to a hockey franchise ever. Yes, Stormy the Pig got stuck in the Zamboni and almost burned alive during the introductions of the inaugural Carolina Hurricanes team. Mascot stories. We can go on about those forever. But Alfredsson for Ottawa, that's my favorite.
Okay, all right, that's an excellent one. So we're gonna hit our last group here, the Metropolitan.
I hate them so much.
We're gonna again, I think we can blitz through our teams. At the end, we'll hit the local teams, but let's start with the Carolina Hurricanes. I will kick it off here, and I've got Rod Brind'Amour. He is I keep looking at the names on my list, and it's like they come up first because they're the people that cost me happiness on several occasions. And Rod Brind'Amour has been that presence throughout the last decade and a half of hockey, where it's like he's undeniable, he's a killer, and he's going to hit the scum rises to the top, and Rod Brind'Amour, it would be that guy for me. Cappy, who you hate?
Screw the Hurricanes. Screw that whole organization. Can't stand them. But I picked Cam Ward, goaltender.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're worth talking about. I'm done.
Wow.
I'll give my time to the real captain of the show, to Chuck.
I'm going to say that this may come as a surprise to you guys, but fuck Rod Brind'Amour and moving on.
Okay, good.
That's all. Because
like
everything
that.
You said about him, and Corby, everything you said about the team, fully justified. Hockey's number one Karen that wants to talk to your manager. Rod Brind'Amour.
Washington Capitals. Boy, there's a guy on the Capitals that I hate, but he's not the first person that comes to my mind. But the greatest goal scorer now in the history, at least stat-wise, the greatest goal scorer in the history, and that's Ovi. Tons of credit for him. Again, I could talk about all the times where I was like, just like I said with Yzerman, like he is the guy that you need to cover, figure out how to take him out of the game, but he still beat you every time. So Alexander Ovechkin, he has to be, and I think it's because he's fresh in the mind with the tremendous record that he broke. But Jesus, he's been there forever, and he could play another 5-10 years for sure. So Ovi's the man.
Then my turn, or
yeah, it's your Chuck? It's your turn.
Oh, my turn. I'm going to go with a little bit of a curveball here, and I'll try to get through this as fast as I can. So 90-91 season, the Devils were actually really good. I believe they won the Patrick division at that time. They were the number one seed.
Yes.
I think it was the first time in their franchise history that they got 100 points but I could be wrong. Either that or they were in the high 90s. They faced a Washington Capitals team that everybody predicted the Devils should just sweep them and be done with it and go on to the next. And they faced a juggernaut by the name of Dino Ciccarelli, who did very little before and very little after.
It's a hockey Hall of Famer.
But that guy had the absolute series of a lifetime, and scored a hat trick in the game-deciding 5-4 victory in overtime to knock the Devils out of the playoffs, and then proceeded to get injured in the next round and miss the rest of the playoffs. So when I see the Washington Capitals logo, my first thought is, fucking Dino Ciccarelli.
Dino Ciccarelli.
We lost to Dino Ciccarelli.
Oh, I could always go with Ole the goalie back in the day, got them to a cup final. Kolzig. There's always Mike Ridley's collapsed lung at Madison Square Garden. That's a big moment for the Capitals in franchise history.
Yeah.
But Double M, I mean, I'm just being funny. It's Ovechkin, and it's baffling and remarkable that the man who has scored the most goals in NHL history has utilized approximately 1.5% of the entirety of the ice rink for his whole career. It is truly baffling, astonishing. It's everything you can imagine. It's the same shot from the same spot every night for 15 years, and you can check in on the 100 and I think it's 63 goaltenders he scored on in his career now, and every one of them will say the same thing. I had it. I knew it was coming.
And it
I
disappeared.
knew where it was coming from, and I was lined up perfectly in position, and I had it, and then he was celebrating.
Yeah,
I've seen it with my own eyes enough times, man. When he sets up in that spot, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
I hope he comes back and plays a little bit more, but I think that we've probably seen the end of him now that he's gotten the record. Undeniably, though, he's the biggest. He's the biggest star in the game currently, and he's the biggest Washington Capitals star in history, even over Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah. Wow.
The only thing higher than Ovi's goals expected per game was his blood alcohol level during
Truly the best Stanley Cup celebration in recent history. I mean, we love those legends of the cup ending up at the bottom of the pool or the horse eating out of it at Belmont, and we love those stories. So when Ovi lost his mind and decided to go full-on Russian tank drunk, it was a pretty amazing thing. Everybody got behind it, man. It was fun. Yeah. That Capitals thing was fun. Ovi has been fun. He's the polar opposite of the other biggest star of the league, Sidney Crosby. He's Captain Serious all the damn time and can never enjoy a single moment of what he's doing. Meanwhile, you flip over to Ovi, he's wearing a bucket hat, sunglasses, and he's got the wrong-handed sticks, but somehow he scored 2 goals in the game.
Yeah, he's a menace. He's a menace to society for sure.
Yes.
Columbus Blue Jackets. Corby, who's your Blue Jacket?
This might be a little thorn in the side to Ranger fans because of
no, don't do it.
Because of the hope that he brought to all you blue jersey rooting motherfuckers thought he was going to bring you. I'm going with forward Rick Nash.
I like Rick Nash. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he was great.
I know. Hey, listen. Rick, he had to come from somewhere.
That's it. The cup is ours. We got Rick Nash. It's over.
I know.
Nash didn't deliver the goods with that contract in New York, but I got to cover the first couple of years of him when he was in the same division with Columbus as Nashville.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to tell you, every time he came to Nashville, he put up huge points, huge numbers, and you can count me, Corby, as one of the people who truly thought him going from a team that was mediocre like Columbus to a team that had all of the money in the world and resources and assets like New York. It just seemed natural that 40-plus goal scorer every season, who was physically the most dominant player in the Western Conference at the time, was going to pan out. But it didn't work. Nash truly was great in Columbus. I'll agree with Corby on that, but for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Nash was cash. My guy is Sergei Bobrovsky. I've never seen a goalie with a wider stance, and I know he's with the Panthers now. So he still exists, but the wingspan on a dude like Bob, it's nuts. He's nuts. He's basically, he's the trap. He's the human trap at this point, and can move and can can motor around the back end to catch a puck, and then center himself right back in front of the net. Like, you know, even if he does misplay it, like he's a great keeper. And again, I think he's going to get that that time in the sun for sure, and they're going to look back on his stats and say like he's a all timer. But yeah, he when that Blue Jacket team had their act together, Sergei Bobrovsky was part of the reason why people were paying attention to them. So,
Double M, he's got some of those intangibles on the resume, like the Calder Trophy, which is Rookie of the Year from back when he was with Columbus.
Yep.
He's also been associated with the Vezina Trophy, and now he has a Stanley Cup championship from last season, and currently could be winning his second.
Yeah.
Once he's finished compiling the stats of this 10-year contract he signed with the Florida Panthers. I mean, it's going to be pretty undeniable, I think, that the case for him to go into the Hall of Fame. I think we are watching someone that's pretty special. That's a great name to bring into the conversation.
Of course. Who do you got? Do you have anybody off the top of your head?
I just go with Rick Nash, but just a stick taps and a sky point to Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau.
That's true.
And
yes.
What he was going to be able to accomplish with the Columbus Blue Jackets, we'll never know. But for him to go and sign with a franchise that he knew was a bottom-feeding franchise and say, make me the guy.
Put it on my back.
The man who brings us Columbus Blue Jackets back from irrelevancy to playoff hockey. And his life obviously tragically cut short this past summer. But Johnny Hockey deserves a sky point and some stick taps for what he did to try to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets when they were the worst team in the league and bring them back to relevance. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Great homage there. The less said, the better for the Philadelphia Flyers. I'll give you my name, and we can move on quickly. Jean Leclerc. I thought Jean Leclerc was
he's good.
He was a good player.
Good.
God damn, you hate him, but Jean Leclerc was he was a Flyers flyer. I will say that's the case. Like when you look at that organization, and you're like, and basically it's like half the guys I would put in a maximum sentence facility, but Leclerc is the guy that I sort of like. All right, I respect a lot of the way that he played the game and the way that he got in your face as an opposition to him. So Jean Leclerc getting in there for me. Corby, who do you got?
Man, everybody loves to hate, and that's Ron Hextall. Any goalie that is up there for career leader in penalty minutes. If you get one by you, there's a good shot. Not only are you going to score a goal, but you're going to get a stick to the back or the back of the head. He was just like, he was mean. He was obviously everybody's number one target when the Flyers came to town.
Yeah.
Everybody, like even there's probably some Flyer fans deep down that probably is like, yeah, Hextall's kind of a dick, but I think of all the shit in Philadelphia, Ron Hextall is the first thing that comes to my mind.
He comes to the top of your list. Chuck.
I'm going to guarantee you Tomas Sandstrom has a little bit of a pain in his arm every time the temperature goes below 40 degrees because of what Ron Hextall did to him after scoring a goal on. But heck, Hextall was a legend and one of the biggest characters of all time. But I'm going to go with a little deeper Flyers history. Of course, it's always going to go back to this particular time period because it's one of the most entertaining time periods in hockey history. I'm going to have to go with the maniac who led the Maniacs and the man who ran the asylum, Dave the Hammer Schultz.
The Hammer, yeah.
Terry Crisp, who was his teammate, and I've gotten drunk with a few times. I've heard every story about the Broad Street Bullies you can possibly hear. This was the one that makes me laugh the hardest every time. One night, walking out of MSG to the bus, Schultz jumps the guardrail and beats the shit out of 4 or 5 Rangers fans right on the sidewalk. And they say, Schultz, what the hell you doing? You're going to have to come back for court. He goes, yeah, I was looking for a vacation this summer anyway, and they'll put me up in a free hotel for 2 weeks. Dave the Hammer
Oh.
Schultz, one of the greatest
What a
maniacs and
character.
penalty minute
Yeah.
leaders of all time. Crispy used to tell me my sole role as part of the Broad Street Bullies was to go around and collect everybody's gloves and put them back in pairs. That was it. He said, he goes, me fight? Oh, no. He goes, I just collected everybody's gloves and put them back with the numbers that they were supposed to go with. He goes, I was really good at matching things. Dave Schultz and the Bullies, man, that's always where it is.
What a
Most
phenomenal
entertaining time in hockey.
Yeah, that's every once in a while you catch like clips of that on YouTube, or you catch it on like MSG, like, you know, they used to run like, you know, Rangers Classics or Islanders
It's
Classics,
unreal.
and you would watch that, and again it was mayhem, and the
You'll
leader of
never
the mayhem
see
was
that
Schultz.
spectacle in sports again. You'll never see it where teams come over the boards and have full bench clearing brawls. You'll never see fighting like that in sports ever again. First of all, they don't take it as seriously as they did back in that time frame. Free agency, of course, and modern everything in sports has changed all of that. But that era, 75, 76, Philadelphia, what the country, the attitude around the country, everything was just so tough at that time. And it was the Broad Street Bullies, man, they captivated the imaginations of everybody.
They were an epitome.
That's you know, honestly, that's the most nice things I've ever said about the Flyers. And Corby, if you could go ahead and get that throw up bit we queued up earlier, go ahead, because I'm starting to feel a little queasy about myself here. Mike, we better move on.
There's still a couple of teams left that could possibly bring up the upchuck.
I'm glad you saved these. I'm starting to get a little queasy with myself here.
That's a good point. Pittsburgh Penguins are the next on a dwindling list, and I know
Jesus.
They just create misery for us all.
So much for my childhood.
Captain, give us at least somebody.
All right. So this is a little bit of a curveball, but just as I was saying about Kurt McLean, if I didn't get a Kurt McLean card, I got a fucking Tom Barrasso card. I get it. He was a solid goaltender in the league. I think he had a run. I think he also played with the Bruins. But that dude was so fucking overrated. Like those early '90s, like I don't want to say like I could have went out there, but like any fucking goaltender could have went out there and probably did what he did.
Yeah, you're up 4-1.
And he went to, he went to All-Star games. He went to, all this shit, and was like, it's like, bro, man, you like, look at the fucking team you got in front of you. Like, you could give up 3 goals, and you're like, it's almost like, all right, I'm not even gonna get worried until they at least score the 5th one. Like, I thought he was just very vastly overrated, and God, he would piss me off anytime I'd see his card. I'm like, a fucking all-star card for this clown?
I like how you have it. This is turned into like the PTSD therapy session that you always wanted about the Score 1990 set that's haunting you. This is an awakening.
I'm just glad that not only do I provide entertainment, but I'm getting a little bit of some free therapy here.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, listen.
Oh.
If we get a sponsor, we'll put it on there. Mario Lemieux's an inspiration. As much as you want to say that, like, he was a pest and he beat your team and he was a prima donna to a certain extent in the heart and soul of his career, won a lot of cups, but the cancer recovery and the battles that he went through and coming back, like, I'm giving Lemieux. It's Lemieux.
It's Lemieux all the way. He ruined my childhood. Listen, he ruined. I'm not kidding about this. There was no worse human being on earth when I was a child than Mario Lemieux, because every single time Tomas Sandstrom and Ron Greschner would somehow get the Beezer into the playoffs, there would be the Penguins, and the Penguins would just destroy them in the Patrick Division bracket. It happened every time, and those 90-91 teams. You mentioned, how can Barrasso get any credit when you have Jágr, Lemieux, and Coffey in front of you?
Right, and they're all in their,
mostly in the primes. Jágr's the rookie.
Jágr's the rookie,
and already a
yeah,
100-point guy. Yeah. And just sickening. Why couldn't he be that guy when he was with the Rangers? I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah. Well, he was 130 years old when he was a Ranger.
One more thing about Mario Lemieux. As much as I dislike putting him over, he deserves it. The comeback, yes. He saved the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise.
Yeah,
he put his own personal money up. He saved them as a franchise, as a player, by making them successful on the ice, and he saved them as a franchise off the ice by taking his own personal wealth and purchasing the team and ensuring they would not leave Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
When, trust me, the vultures were more.
They were ready to.
They were ready to pick Sidney Crosby and the rest of the bones right out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And then they go on and win multiple Stanley Cups, and Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Marc-Andre Fleury are three of the best players of the next age of hockey. And Mario Lemieux, again, caused that.
He paved the way for it, yeah.
And damn it, he's handsome, too.
I know. He's
shit, man.
Kind of a good-looking dude. Yeah,
God,
Jesus.
I dislike him so much, but I have the most respect in the universe for the guy.
Let's go to a team where all of us don't have a lot of respect. Those are the New York Islanders, and I don't think an Islander fan has a lot of respect for the Islanders.
Fish sticks.
The guy for me, as odd as it sounds, even though I grew up as a Ranger fan, Mike Bossy was awesome hockey player. So I start to watch hockey maybe 1981, 82, let's say. And you can see the Islanders and you can hear them on the radio and see them on television. And they had like a deal. I think they were on like Channel 11. So if there wasn't a Ranger game, you could flip over to the Islanders and it would just be like, all right, well, at least hockey's on, and you'd flip around and it's like so the Rangers at the time, they were a team. So there was a bunch of guys and there was the Gretschners and the Duguays, wreaking havoc and everything. But like Mike Bossy's name, every game you knew Mike Bossy was going to do something. Mike Bossy was going to be involved. Mike Bossy was there. He was their golden ticket at the time when they went on that run and they won the 3 cups in a row. Just a class player in an unclassy organization. I'll just say that because I'm not a fan. But Mike Bossy was like one of the cornerstones of me actually enjoying and watching hockey and knowing that there were other guys in the league that you could kind of tip your cap to and say like, all right, he's very good. Like a season later, Gretzky became a thing, and it was like, well, no, that's a new toy, and I love Gretzky now. But Mike Bossy was one of those early guys for me, so I'll give him the credit where credit's due. Captain, where you at?
Chuck had picked this guy for the Buffalo Sabres. I was going to go with Pat LaFontaine, but I'll change my direction. A few years ago, when Sports Illustrated actually used to have a magazine and they put articles out, and you could buy it at the newsstand. There was an article, it was like the top 25 things to do in the NHL. If you're an NHL fan, you have to do all these different things. And in the top 5 was you have to go to a Ranger game and you have to do the Pot Van Sucks chant.
Right.
So anybody who has a chant that's still said to this day, like 40 years after he's done playing.
Fuck, 50 years. 40 years after he's done playing, yeah.
Fans say it and they have no idea why. They just know that when the Oregon player does the ... they say Pot Van Sucks. And they might not even know who Dennis Potvin was. And he was an Hall of Famer defenseman. He was a great player. But to most Ranger fans, he'll be known for the cheap shot in the playoffs and the chant that followed for the remainder to this day. So
for all time, it will be there for sure.
I'll go with Dennis Potvin.
Okay, all right.
Double M, I'm going to agree with you, but I have another answer at the end of this. Mike Bossy was not only the man's man of that Islanders team, 50-goal scorer. He had all the tools.
Yeah.
But if you've ever heard the story about the Islanders beating the Oilers as the Oilers were emerging, going to their first Stanley Cup final, and the Islanders were going to their last final, they collided. And the Edmonton Oilers lost that series to the Islanders, their last cup that they've won in their franchise history. Gretzky, Messier, Curry, all of them, to a man, has told the story about how when the series was over, they went down the hallway and they looked in the Islanders' locker room, and it was a bunch of old, broken guys who had sacrificed every piece of their bodies to beat that young, high-flying, skilled Oilers team. And Messier and Gretzky and all of those guys that we now know as household legends looked at each other and said, that's what it's going to take for us to knock that team off the top.
Yeah.
We have to be in that same condition after it's over. And the Oilers would, of course, take that dynasty title away from that Islander team, go on their own run, winning 4 consecutive cups. So impressive stuff. But my favorite Islander of all time, Rick DiPietro.
Are they still paying him?
Straight face, 100% serious. I could not imagine a better player in Islander history than Rick DiPietro. He heralded in the era of the fish stick jerseys. He sucked more assets from that team, making them unable to get a competent goaltender or a high scorer free agent for the next 20-plus years. And frankly, it ruined their entire franchise. So Rick DiPietro will always have an extremely special part in my very dark and black heart.
That's oh man, you stole the show on that one. Boy, that's tremendous. All right, we're down to 2. We're gonna go with the Devils first, Cap, and I'm gonna let you just name everybody on the 95 team. Go ahead. That's what we're looking for.
I will say I could easily pick any of the guys that have their numbers up in the rafter. I could pick Niedermeyer. I could go Stevens. Ken Danico, Marty Brodeur would be very easy. Jack Hughes, if he can stay healthy, he may be the most talented player I've ever seen the Devils have. Right now his issue is his size, and he's getting injured. He's not lasting the season.
Yeah.
But if he can figure that out, his number will be up there, and he may be considered the greatest Devil player in franchise history.
Okay.
But I have to go with the guy who was my favorite player as a kid, who scored the most important goal in Devil history, and that's diehard Johnny McLean.
Yeah.
McLean, in the 87-88 year, it came down to the last game of the year against the Blackhawks in Chicago. McLean scores a deflection in overtime, and it sends the Devils to the playoffs for the first time, and they go on this run where they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, where at the time I guess you would say the Wales Conference Finals. They eventually lose in 6 or 7 games to the Bruins, but that goal and that playoff run, that got rid of the "you're a Mickey Mouse" organization.
Yep.
And it set them up to be a relevant hockey team for maybe the next 25, 30 years.
Was he, when they won the cup again in...
He was on the 95.
95. So 95, and then...
He did win a Stanley Cup with them. I believe by 98 he might have been a Ranger. That was tough. Like that was in the McLean signed, Scott Gomez signed, Bruce Driver signed with the Rangers. There was Bobby Holik signed a contract. There was a spew of guys that jumped ship and went to the Rangers because Lou didn't want to pay them, and nothing hurt more than seeing John McLean in a Ranger in a uniform. But yeah, he was the first guy. He was my first favorite player. And again, if he don't hit that tap, he don't put that tap back in, and they don't win in Chicago, who knows where the hell the franchise goes? Because at that time, they were, as Gretzky said, they were a Mickey Mouse organization, and that playoff run and stuff. That's Jim Schoenfeld yelling at a ref whose name's have another donut, you fat pig, after he made horrible calls in the Capitals series. Yes. So to me, John McLean, diehard. He's my guy.
He's your ace. He's your ace in the hole. This is chalky. I'm going Brodeur because Brodeur maybe he's for a time there he was the best goaltender in all of hockey, and grew into that for a lot of stumbling and a lot of second guessing, where that organization was like, we're not sure that Marty's the guy. We're always going to have like a Sean Burke on retainer. We're always going to have a Glenn Healy. There's always going to be somebody that's waiting in the wings because we don't know if we trust him. And once you trusted him and once he helped you win that cup, it became the Marty show for 20 years. So my relationship with him when it comes to like on the ice, like I think the Rangers were like one of the few teams that kind of had his number a lot, at least during the regular season. But dollars to donuts, like a gutsy player would play injured, especially when you would go these deep playoff runs where you were going 7 games and Brodeur in game 7 is still playing like it's game 1 of the season with tenacity, with energy, and with this sort of like, I'm going to put this team on my back, and I'm going to make sure that the defensive scheme that they are running to make sure that I'm not under siege, even if it does slip a little bit, I'm going to reset these guys. I'm going to reset the chess pieces in front of me, and I'm going to put a ton of faith that I can make the saves if anybody penetrates and wears them down. So he's one of one. And he's one of the best ever, and I'm begrudgingly, like, I'm kind of happy that he played his career in New Jersey, and at least I got to see him a handful of times play, because that's the type of person, like, I never saw Patrick Roy play, only on television, never saw him in person. I got to see Brodeur, and I consider him in a pantheon of guys where it's like, I'm so glad that I got a chance to experience it live. So, Marty's the guy. Marty's the man.
Hard to argue with John McClane in front of the net wearing a Christmas tree. That he was a special player for that team, and I did really appreciate him. And Brodeur, of course, Mike did a nice job there of chronicling that. To think I celebrated Chris Terreri getting pulled in the '93 playoffs like it was some great moment. Like, we ruined the Devils. Chris Terreri's done. Who's this bum Brodeur? Oh shit.
Yeah.
For the next 20 years of my life, nearly. But I'm gonna go with the only Devil I've ever smoked a cigar with, and I did that in Hoboken in 2001, and that was Scott Stevens. And the reason, not only because I smoked a cigar with him, and he ended up being nice, but I was able to tell him to his face how much I hated him, and he actually surprisingly really appreciated the honesty. But he is a player that, in front of the eyes of the entire universe, nearly got away with murdering another player in open ice in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Quite possibly the biggest and most dramatic hit that's ever taken place in the NHL, that was clean, did not lead to any injury of any sort. But you, I, and everyone watching definitely thought, until Paul Kariya's visor fogged up again 10 seconds later, that Scott Stevens had in fact killed him right there in open ice. And it wasn't just Paul Kariya. There wasn't a player in the league who wasn't terrified of Scott Stevens if they tried to carry the puck. It was more than a left wing lock. It was more than a neutral zone trap. It was more than the best goaltender statistically in history. Scott Stevens put the fear into every man who thought about carrying the puck over that blue line. And if you got caught, you didn't even have to have your head down. If you got caught by him, you are not going to feel the right way for probably between 14 and 21 days. Yeah, it
takes your breath away, so to speak, for sure.
A little caveat on to that real quick. You were referring, when we were talking about the Nashville Predators, you were talking about when Mike Fisher came in, that the really popular player who was the captain at the time, they let him walk in free agency. I forget who it, but people kind of forget, back in the day, with free agency in the NHL was, if you signed a free agent, you were obliged to give compensation to the other team. So the St. Louis Blues signed Brendan Shanahan away from the Devils, which a lot of fans were pissed off about, because Shanahan was young, he was on the rise, he was like, he was a guy that could, he could get you the Gordie Howe hat trick, and people were pissed, and they were like, we're getting fucking Scott Stevens back in compensation. But that sign and I mean, along with Brodeur and his development and whatever, like getting like Stevens was the beginning of putting that Stanley Cup team together. Like that was the missing part, or the beginning part, and it was booed. Like it was pissed a lot of Devil fans off at the time.
Tremendous. Good history poll there, Cap. That's a great one. All right, now we've gotten to the last team, the very last team, the one I think we could probably go through this quickly because this has been a journey through the NHL for sure. The New York Rangers, my team, my boys, Chuck's team. Chuck, you mentioned him before. Your favorite Ranger of all time is my favorite Ranger of all time, is my favorite hockey player of all time, Adam Graves. It's my first hockey jersey. I was late to the party getting a hockey jersey, by the way, but I got that Gravy jersey, and it was out of respect for what I consider to be a hard-nosed player, what I consider to be a fan favorite, and just an all-around, like, just a cornerstone of that Cup team. He almost gets more praise than Messier, like, just because the fans like took to the sky and they were like, we're gonna fly the banner of Adam Graves as, our ultimate like character man on that team. But he was a hell of a player, a hell of a gutsy player, and I could talk for hours about how much he restored my faith in Rangers hockey the season before, and then into the Cup season, and then beyond, like stretching with him. So Graves is one of one for me. Is there anybody that you like on the Rangers organization, Kat? Well, just any name that comes to the top of your head, please.
All right. So as much as I try not to be one of those Devil fans that finds just as much enjoyment when the Rangers lose as they do when the Devils win, which is, I think, that's been a detriment to this franchise for since '94.
Mm-hmm.
Look, that '94 team, I don't know if I've ever really fully recovered. I know the Devils have gone on to win cups, but man, that series was such a kick to the balls, and it could be really easy just to hate everybody on that team. But there are a lot of good dudes. Not only were they great hockey players, but off the ice were a lot of good dudes. And the one I thought just carried himself with a lot of class and dignity and was great for the game and was a great player was Brian Leetch.
Oh, yeah. Good ambassador. Good, and
yes.
If not for, he still played another, 10, 12 years in the league after that? After 93?
Yes. Yeah. He put in a full 21 year career. And Brian Leetch, if you remember, fellas, when he first comes from Team USA as part of that massive USA infusion hockey into the New York Rangers, Herb Brooks, everything,
Mm-hmm.
Tony Amonte, Doug Waite, Mike Richter, Brian Leetch, all coming at the same exact time was just incredible. But Brian Leetch was 100+ point a year defenseman.
Yeah.
In his rookie year, and if not for breaking his ankles in Toronto, and I think it's the second or third season of his career, he probably compiles another couple of 100 points out there on the ice. I remember a poster that was gigantic outside of Madison Square Garden after his rookie year, and it was just the giant 5-story poster outside of Brian Leetch, and it said, "When you know you're about to set ice on fire." And Brian Leetch, that was it. There was no Ranger who could take the puck from behind the net, knife through all 5 players of the opposition, and finish the playoff. The '94 Conn Smythe winner, truly one of the hardest ones to watch leave the franchise. Felt that he deserved the respect to retire since he started his career with the Rangers. He wasn't like some of the other guys who had come as free agents to bolster and make it a championship squad. Brian Leetch, man, I'm so glad that name came up today, because truly, not only one of the greatest American-born players in the history of the game, but truly a great ambassador and rep for 20 years in the league. And yes, Corby, he is the one guy that the opponents, I think, could single out on the Rangers and go, I hate him, but he's all right. And certainly the way he was treated by Mike Keenan in '94 and some of the other off-ice stories that came along with the verbal abuse that Brian Leetch was a megastar on that team, and he still had to put up with more shit than probably any guy of his status ever has. Man, I'm so glad we wrapped it up with talking about a player like that.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have anybody else to just toss in there as a...
Why don't I just finish off the triumvirate and go Mike Richter?
Okay, yeah.
Just because. I mean, Mike Richter mask is one of the most recognized helmets in goalie history. The Statue of Liberty mask is known universally. The penalty shot stop on Pavel Bure is one of the great highlights in Stanley Cup history. The '96 World Cup, Mike Richter's performance in that, leading Team USA to a gold medal, otherworldly in that, maybe the best goaltending of his entire career. And again, another fantastic rep of USA hockey for his entire lifetime. So yeah. If you're going to mention Graves, you're going to mention Leetch, and Messier, you got to get
Richter's in there, yeah. And Richter's a wire-to-wire Ranger.
Yes.
Never let it be said. And a diminutive guy. When it comes to, like, we talked about tall, big, imposing, huge goalies, outside of the pads, Mike Richter's got this little head that just sticks up out of the ground almost.
He's a tiny
and he's
man.
A tiny man.
He really is. He's a very tiny man that had incredible success. And yet somehow, fellas, in Atlanta, the final moment of Mike Richter's entire career, that tiny man with that tiny head turned his head just the wrong way as a period expired and took a slap shot off the side of his ear.
Yeah.
And that was the end of his career.
Bell was wrong.
I have rarely cried over sports, but being in Atlanta and seeing Mike Richter carted off the ice left me in an absolute mess.
Yeah,
a legend going out like that. That was a tough one to see.
It's a brutal pill to spill. I know we were gonna. I think we should wrap it up. We were gonna talk about some of these defunct teams, but
just say you're gonna bring me back for another episode, and we'll pick it up again later.
We will.
That's all you got to do.
This is definitely this bared incredible fruit.
I'm glad.
You are the brains of the operation from now on. If we need somebody to read 700 pages of the history of a sport, we're just going to give you a book, send you to work, make it happen. But yeah, no, Chuck, I can't say enough about like the wealth of information that you brought to us and backed up a lot of the feelings that we have about the NHL, and your passion for it is unmatched. Super fan, dyed in the wool. Captain, I think you will agree that we've hit pay gold for future episodes, not just hockey episodes. I think we can say it's safe to say that we will have a great relationship with Crazy Charlie going forward.
I had kind of joked about it in the hype message out on the socials about me taking the back seat to Chuck, and he can wear the captain, and I'll wear the A today. I do it gladly. I think me and you honestly would say that when we started doing this podcast, our one of our first goals was how can we get Chuck on here? Like, do we talk about wrestling? Do we talk about hockey? Do we just talk about growing up in the Bayshore area? Like, how do we get him on?
Music,
and,
shit.
Dude delivered, man. Like, and it just made me and you look like amateurs today. So.
This post-game show is phenomenal, man.
Right.
I'm really enjoying. I like the topic. I think I like where you guys are heading. Listen, fellas, I'm going to say this. I'm going to cut you both off right here. I'm going to use some terminology right there. You want to talk wrestling? You want to talk the Bayshore area? You want to talk the Beachers themselves? Anything that happened at Holy Family over a certain time period? Any of these things, if we don't tell the story sometime of Heatwave 95 and how I got into the wrestling business, that would be criminally negligent on a content creator. Listen, fellas, I think the world of both of you. When you announced you were starting the show, I reached out to both of you. I wished you the best of luck, and I started begging immediately to be a part of it. It means more to me than either of you, I think, understand. I know I've done this for a very long time, but to be on a show with my friends that I grew up with and the people that know my worst sides and the worst things I've ever done and still trust me with a microphone to come on, it means truly, truly a lot to me. And being disconnected from you guys makes my heart feel awfully empty at times. So to be able to come on, to be able to shoot the shit, talk some hockey, which I do love. I love any topic out there, though, and if you guys need me to come on and break down salt and pepper shakers, coffee mugs, pro wrestling, movies, TV, music, or whatever the hell it is, all you've got to do is let me know. I will clear the calendar and the deck for you guys. You need content? You need a man on the street? Come get me.
Well, that's very important, and that's really great to hear. And the appreciation is it's a two-way street, my friend. Give the people what they want. Let them know where they can find you.
Get out of here and go do something else.
It's a long podcast. Let's just put it.
Yes.
This is a road trip podcast. But
I'm verbose, okay? You didn't get me on the show because I'm short-winded. You got me on the show because I'm a man of verbosity. So
tell them where they can get more of your content and your energy and your know-how and brains.
Would love
Fire
to.
away.
Please, just search Renegades of Puck. That's all you need to do. There used to be a giant logo right behind me on the wall right here, but I've ripped that damn thing down, and I've reappropriated it to a brand new studio. Listen, hockey. It is full, as you have come to discover from listening to us for this short period of time, and this was a short one, trust me. You know about the characters, you know some history, you know some stories. I'm going to start bringing you content that delivers all of that with my unique brand of charisma and personality. We're going to tell the stories. We're going to bring the guests here in the studio. I cannot wait to show you guys the brand new HQ, the brand new facility, and get out of this mess behind me. But I was not going to close the Renegades of Puck bunker until I was on with Double M and the captain. This is officially the last broadcast that will ever take place from this desk and this set. Next time you see me, it will be in the new HQ. So, fellas, it's a really proud moment to be 29 plus years into this and launching something new and spectacular. If you search Renegades of Puck, I'm on every social media platform. Please help my YouTube channel. You don't have to listen to my mouth. Just click on some shit and help me get some plays up so that I can make the YouTube people happy, and they'll pay me again. Thank you. I appreciate you. Stick Taps. Let me close it. Stick Taps, love and respect. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your viewership. And most importantly, I appreciate each and every one of you.
What a talent. What a talent. This is a crazy episode. That's a crazy man, Crazy Charlie, our friend Chuck, Charlie Saunier. What a treat. Captain, I think hopefully you're feeling better in the next couple days. What do we got for a topic for next week? What do you think?
I think we were throwing on the idea of ranking the worst Robert De Niro movies.
All right, so it'd
be easy. It'd be easy to just go and get the best ones. We're gonna find some really bad Robert De Niro movies,
so
and we're gonna decide.
Guess what,
them.
listeners? The Planet of Hate is being reorganized, and the Planet of Hate is aiming its laser beams at Robert De Niro.
God, be careful. Be careful what you say about Taxi Driver, or I will come back.
That will definitely not be in. That's not in the conversation. But we'll save it. We'll save it for the research decks. For our very good friend and very special guest, Crazy Charlie Saunier. For the captain, this has been Mike Madden. We've gone through the ringer tonight, and we hope you guys have a great night, and we'll see you on the other side.